tonight and tomorrow night. And we'll have the action all right here for you on 96. Now this word from Woody Yeager to Ford.
All right, well, good evening, folks, and welcome inside Von Braun Center here from Huntsville, Alabama. Our first game this season broadcasting from the road. Alex Von Corda, the voice of your Macon Mayhem. Thrilled that you had the chance to join us for some Friday night hockey. The Mayhem coming off an enormous win last night against the Evansville Thunderbolts in a 6-2 decision against the last place squad in the SPHL. Coach Leo Thomas described that game as an absolute must-win. The Mayhem did exactly that. They forechecked hard. They got the puck to the net. They got bodies to the net. And their leadership, their most important and longest tenured players were exactly that last night, stepping up big and coming to the forefront, each of them producing in some way. Seth Ronsberg ended up dropping the gloves with Evansville heavyweight Nick Wright. Jake Trask scored a pair of goals. John Seymour netted a goal, and Dakota Klecha really made his presence known yesterday with a pair of goals, one of which was probably I'd consider it a highlight reel goal after he stole the puck at center ice and drove down the left wing side to deke Braden Ostapchuk out of position and bury it past him to essentially put the game out of reach. So the Mayhem hoping they can take some of that momentum and transmute it into tonight's contest. They're in Huntsville for the penultimate time of this season. They'll be back here tomorrow night to wrap up the road series. And Huntsville's a team that they passed the Mayhem in the SPHL standings, and after they managed to do that, they weren't able to build upon that lead. They sort of just hung around with a 3-point advantage over Macon for a long time and couldn't take advantage of Macon's recent struggles, and were just sort of just sitting there, just a few points ahead of the Mayhem in the standings. And Macon is thankful that that's the case, because now, with that win last night over Evansville, yes, the Havoc do have a game in hand over the Mayhem, but the Mayhem sit a meager 1 point behind Huntsville in the SPHL standings. A win tonight propels the Mayhem back into third place in the SPHL. Right now, Huntsville sitting with 50 points on the campaign. Macon trailing close behind them with 49. 24-14-2, Huntsville's record coming into this game, their 41st of the 2018-19 regular season. Macon, on the contrary, 22-14-5 through 41 games played this season. The Mayhem coming into this game with a plus 17 goal differential now after putting up 6 last night, and that was enormous because the team had struggled for quite a while to generate consistent offense. There had been really game after game going by without the Mayhem being able to score more than a couple of goals. To be precise, before last night, the Mayhem had gone 7 games without scoring more than twice in a single game. The last time they had done that until last night was in this building back on January 26th, the last time the Mayhem faced the Huntsville Havoc. And in that game, it also became the first time the Mayhem would lose a game after scoring the first goal all season. So that was a tough one to swallow. The Mayhem got off to a 2-0 lead and ended up falling by a 5-4 decision. Christian Powers with a pair of goals in that tilt. He will be one of the players to watch tonight for the Macon Mayhem. Dakota Klecha, we were wondering about him and his return and whether or not we'd see him return to the same sort of dominant elite form that he was in before sustaining the injury. And any doubts that we had about him whatsoever were answered last night. He really utilized his speed to his advantage, beat the opposition to the puck several times, out-muscled them in puck battles along the boards, and ultimately was rewarded with a pair of goals, one of which was an absolute beauty. The first of which was sort of a tap-in, but he still had to skate hard to the front of the net to put his stick on the ice and just tap it home past Ostapchuk, give Derek Sutliff the brilliant assist on that play on the cross-crease pass. And then the next would be a highlight reel play. Dakota stole the puck from center and really just deked Ostapchuk out of his jackstrap. So Klecha certainly answering some of the questions about whether or not he was back to 100% yet, or maybe not even that, but just back in his comfort zone again. I spoke with Leo Thomas, the Mayhem head coach, before this game started. We'll hear his interview momentarily here, and I asked him about Dakota, and he told me something very similar, that they weren't sure how long it would take, but they knew it would be a few games. You don't just miss 2 months and all of a sudden come back and return to the same dominant form you were at pre-injury. So the team was wondering a little bit when we'd see the Klecha of old, and I think last night he answered all of our questions. Incredible performance by number 27 in the Navy sweaters last night. Tonight, the Mayhem will be wearing their road whites. It is Wizard Night here at Von Braun Center. The Huntsville Havoc will be wearing specialty Harry Potter-themed jerseys, countered by, of course, Macon's white sweaters. So this will be game one in a 2-game road stint. The Mayhem here tonight and tomorrow night. The front office staff that traveled here, Blair Floyd, Tyler Layfield, Colin Mitchell, Brian Arnold, and myself, will be heading back home to Macon tonight after the game's over. So I'll not have the privilege of covering tomorrow night's game for you, unfortunately, folks. But the show must go on, so you can always tune in to the home feed on SPHL Live. And we'll be back in Macon for next week to prepare for the Birmingham Bulls on Thursday night, and then the Fayetteville Marksmen on Friday and Saturday. Lots of upcoming promotions. We'll get into all that later. But first, let's take a look inside of our Coach's Corner segment with Mayhem head coach Leo Thomas. That interview coming your way momentarily. Keep it right here, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network.
March 2nd, the Havoc and Window World continue their fight against childhood cancer. First 2,000 fans will receive a
Welcome back to the pregame show, folks, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on our first road broadcast of the 2018-19 season. We're glad you're joining us on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. I had a chance to catch up with Mayhem head coach Leo Thomas. Coach, how was the bus ride up here?
It was great. We got a quick little skate in before we left. Stopped about halfway through, got a good lunch. Guys got some rest on the bus, so I think they're ready for tonight.
Last night it was, an enormous momentum-shifting game. The team barely skated it. You described it as a must-win. The leadership really delivered yesterday. How did it feel at the end of that? The 6-2 scoreline on the scoreboard, looking at it and realizing that you guys earned every last one of those.
Yeah, no, that was huge. Like you said, it was a must-win. The guys knew that. They came prepared. It was finally good to put 5 or 6 goals on the board. Hopefully that continues and it gets the ball rolling in the right direction.
Did you know that in this situation, that in a game like last night, it would have to be the team's best players stepping up and being the best players, and the core veteran leadership, the guys who ended up really getting on the board last night? Did you know it was going to be those guys or nobody who stepped up in a situation like that?
Honestly, I didn't know it was going to be them. I think they kind of knew. Everybody in that room knows everybody needed to bring it, and I'm glad it was, our guys that have been there for a while stepping up, and hopefully everybody rallies around each other, and now we can get some scoring from other guys too.
And one of those guys who stepped up yesterday was Dakota Klecha. He just burned the opposition with a couple of goals just driving straight to the net, and if it weren't for his speed, not all those goals would have happened. Was there any doubt whatsoever when he returned after missing a couple of months that he wasn't quite yet back to full force? And if so, did last night prove that he's 100% making a full recovery?
Yeah, I know Klecha being out that long. That's a long time to be out, and you're not going to come back right away and be as dominant as he was before. So I kind of knew it would take a few games to get his legs back and get out to game speed and stuff like that. But last night he definitely looked like he's there, he's pretty close. So that's kind of what goal he scores all the time, using the speed well. So to see that last night put a big smile on my face for sure. And if that continues to do the same thing.
Yeah, that last goal at the end was a highlight reel play, one of the plays of the year so far, I'd say, from the Mayhem. Just a brilliantly executed backhand to forehand, deep to barely past Ostapchuk, and he actually requested that we send that one to him, and I can't blame him because that was a beauty.
Coach, so it's been about a month since we've seen Huntsville. They're a team that at the moment we're actually fared pretty well against the season. They've taken 2 games out of 3. What's the tail of the tape on them, and what are going to be some of the keys to the game to know after having just played on home ice yesterday? Yeah, I was telling you guys last night after a win that it's going to be a different game. Evansville is more in their face, trying to be physical. Huntsville is a high-skilled team. You kind of got to play them hard. You got to be hard on pucks and be aggressive in all 3 zones, and that's the main thing that we got to bring tonight. We got to be on their face all night. They're a team that kind of hates that, so getting enough traffic like we did last night, getting shots in and out. But like you said, we played well against these guys. We know that, and I think we're prepared and we know what we want to do to beat these guys.
Havoc, an extremely disciplined team. They've taken fewer penalties than any team in the SPHL. They're going to sort of push their boundaries, see if they can get them to crack a little bit in that respect and do some of the things that they do really well, which is cause havoc for the opposing goaltender. Coach, I appreciate your time and good luck out there on the road tonight and this weekend.
Hey, thank you, man.
That's all the time. Thank you, Coach, for making Mayhem. This has been your pregame show. We'll be back in a moment with our starting lineups and more in just a moment. Keep it right here, folks. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that exclusive interview with Mayhem head coach Leo Thomas. Always a privilege catching up with the bench boss of the Macon Mayhem. He's always got some interesting things to say, and boy, was he happy about last night, folks. I can tell you that much without a doubt. I saw him heading out of the building. You could see the smile on his face. That was a game the Mayhem needed to win. I asked him that question yesterday in the pregame interview. There wasn't a sliver of doubt in his mind. There was zero hesitation at all. When I asked him if yesterday was a must-win game for the Mayhem, or if it was, I believe the phraseology I used was is this game the first, or the closest thing to a must-win game that the Mayhem have faced all season? And he said, without a doubt, this is 100% a must-win. And his most veteran players really showed it last night. Jake Trask with a pair of goals, Dakota Kletcher with a pair of goals, Seth Ronsberg and John Seamer also lighting the lamp for the Mayhem. And Evansville's lone goals, 2 goals, came from the same player, and Shane Morrissey. He was able to really snipe Ian Silvas from a really tough angle. Silvas had a really strong game last night, and Morrissey was the only person who was able to save him. Now, unfortunately, when it looked as though for a while he might get his first shutout of the season, but Morrissey said no to that. He was the only player on Evansville who managed to find a chink in Silvas's very potent armor. But Silvas will not be in net tonight, folks. Tanner Creel is the starting goaltender for the Macon Mayhem. He was born in Birmingham, Alabama, less than 100 miles from here. Sort of a homecoming of sorts, but he actually didn't grow up in Alabama. He was just born here. But he will be starting tonight for the Mayhem, looking for his first victory with the organization. He's played pretty well since joining Macon, but obviously with the timing of the team's winless skid not coming at an opportune moment. So Silvas hoping that tonight can be his first victory with the Mayhem in the state in which he was born. Seems like a pretty opportune time to me. The rest of the starting lineups right now being announced by the Huntsville Public Address announcer. The same starting 5 that the Mayhem pitched last night. Zach Urban on defense alongside Kristaps Bazovic with Jake Trask, John Seamer, and Caleb Cameron up front. Seamer will be taking the center position, flanked by Cameron on his left wing side, Trask on his right, and then Urban will be manning the right point position with Kristaps Bazovic manning the left. Bazovic, the native of Riga, Latvia, has been the Mayhem's highest scoring defenseman this season, racking up 18 points through 37 games played. And out here on Wizard Night, the pregame festivities yet to really be in full swing. The Huntsville Havoc excited about this Friday night crowd, though I'm told that Saturday night's crowd will be even bigger. It's their Pucks and Paws night tomorrow. The Mayhem will have their Pucks and Paws night a week after tomorrow, next Saturday, March 2nd, 2019. Get your tickets now if you haven't done so already. You can always get them at the box office, of course. But for those of you who'd like to get your tickets earlier, head to the Mayhem website, maconmayhem.com, and purchase them via Ticketmaster. So Huntsville's starting five up front. They're going with, up front they're going with Scott Trask, no relation to Jake Trask, with Kyle Sharkey alongside him, and Ryan Salkhead on the wing. And then on defense, Anthony Calabrese with Derek Pearl in net. Max Millisek, the former Mayhem goaltender, will be the netminder tonight for Glenn DeTullio and the Huntsville Havoc. Huntsville has actually pitched a worse record in their last 5 games than the Mayhem have. They've been struggling lately, folks. The Havoc have not really gotten. They've not been able to build upon their advantage over the Mayhem in the standings, and as such, Macon sits a single point behind them in the SPHL leaderboard. So with 49 points, winning tonight's game would pass the Mayhem over Huntsville, unless, of course, it happens in overtime, in which case the teams would be tied in the standings after tonight. The 3 keys of tonight's game are as follows for the Mayhem. Number 1, discipline. That's going to be extremely critical this evening. The Mayhem did take a lot of ill-disciplined penalties yesterday, unnecessary penalties, I would say, and Huntsville, the most disciplined team in the SPHL. The Mayhem are going to have to match that, or at least come close to doing so here tonight. Number 2, neutralizing perimeter shots. The Havoc love the shooting formation on power plays, using all their firepower to their full advantage and ripping the shot from all angles, especially from the perimeters, the half walls, and the points. The Mayhem are going to have to get sticks and bodies in the lanes, the passing lanes and the shooting lanes, and preventing those sharp angle shots from getting anywhere near Tanner Creel's crease. And finally, cycling the wagons in the offensive zone. Yesterday we saw the offensive creativity explode for the Mayhem, albeit against a weaker opponent than we expect to see tonight. If the Mayhem can continue doing that and pressuring the opposition deep in their own zone and corners and exhausting them, that will be a good recipe for success here this evening at Von Braun Center. The singing of our country's national anthem will be next. In the meantime, keep it right here, folks. Alex Von Cora for the first time broadcasting live from the road. Happy to have you with us on SPHL Live, powered by New Line and on YouTube.
Standing for our national anthem performed by the Huntsville High School performers, directed by Kate Dupuy.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. We're glad to have you on board with us here for our first road broadcast of the 2018-19 season. We hope you're enjoying your Friday night. Starting lineups, in case you missed them, are as follows. Macon going with the same 5 that they started yesterday. Kristaps Bazovic, Zach Urban on defense with Caleb Cameron, John Seamer, Jake Trask at forward. Tanner Creel is in net for the Mayhem. This will be his 21st game this regular season overall. His 5th with the Mayhem, still searching for his first win with the organization. He is hoping he can do that in the state he was born in tonight against the Huntsville Havoc. who are going with up front. Christian Powers line, I beg your pardon, it's Scott Trask's line with Cal Sharkey and with Ryan Salkad, the former Mayhem, who leads the SPHL in goals. Anthony Calabrese on defense alongside Derek Pearl. In net, another former Mayhem goaltender, Max Millisek. So that wraps up your starting lineups, folks. The referee for tonight's game is Jason Lordy. The linesmen are Dan Huntington and Michael C.S. Liga. We're glad to have you with us on our first road broadcast of the 2018-19 regular season. The Mayhem playing in their 42nd game of this season, hoping that that last night was not just a fluke and that they can carry some of that momentum they gained and keep the good times rolling here tonight. John Seamer will take this game's first face-off, and he's countered by Scott Trask, the Huntsville leader in penalty minutes this season. The puck is dropped, and this game is underway. Seamer wins the opening draw, and Kristaps Bazovic has it deep in his own zone. He will send it up the middle of the ice. Jake Trask and across the blue line will feed Cameron the pass on his off wing. Cameron's return is off the skates of Trask, and it bounces up into the left half wall where it's carried down the wing by Kyle Sharkey. Sharkey now swivels his way across the Macon blue line. Scott Trask put it in front, redirected on goal by Derek Pearl and stopped by Tanner Creel. His first save of the game was a dandy, and Cameron will skate it out of harm's way. Caleb Cameron trying to kick it up to his stick. Derek Pearl sends it off of a friendly blade, and it redirects into Macon territory. John Seamer with a long stretch pass, finding the RIT grad Caleb Cameron, who's looking for his first point of the season against Huntsville in his fourth game against the defending champs. Skated out from in behind the Huntsville net by Cy Nukovic, and it's flung out in front of the Havoc bench. Whacked into the zone past Tyler Piacentini, and the whistle blows. I believe they're calling an offside against the Havoc, so we get a stoppage of play 55 seconds into the first period. For those of you tuned in on YouTube tonight, we're glad you decided to join us on our radio audio only stream. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat. I'll do my best to look into it and respond to you folks accordingly. Going to be a neutral zone draw that takes place now in front of the Huntsville bench. And Justin Levesque, who was a +3 last night, has just risen into the top 5 in the SPHL's plus-minus category with a +23 on the campaign. Good for third best in the SPHL. And now it's carried out by Alec Barandrup, who splits a pass up the middle for Tyler Piacentini. He's also caught on a delayed offside, and the whistle blows. Tyler Piacentini was the first star of the game last time out. The Havoc's last game was on Sunday, so they had the benefit of rest. The Mayhem were countered by, burdened by some fatigue a little bit, though Coach Thomas is confident that that won't harm the Mayhem whatsoever in the third period tonight. He said the team got a good skate in back in Macon this morning before leaving out here to northern Alabama. Piacentini will have to step in for Cy Nukovic, who's kicked out of the face-off circle. In the meantime, Derek Sutliff will one-hand it back to Larry Smith. Up to Dakota Kletch on the right wing side, who will feather it down the wing. And Levesque is knocked off the puck by Alec Barandrup. Barandrup is now checked behind his goal by Derek Sutliff. And it's fed up to Cy Nukovic. The fourth-year Huntsville Havoc sends one into the high slot. Here's a wrist shot, score! It's Pat Condon wristing it from the high slot, beating Tanner Creel cleanly. Has just given the Havoc a 1-0 lead. So Pat Condon is playing his first game against the Mayhem this season. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup, and recently he's been on a nice little roll. And the Mayhem getting their first taste of him has just scored his 5th goal of the season. He's a rookie defenseman playing his first game against the Mayhem all year. As a long stretch pass was intended for Reynolds, he will dump it into the zone after he was caught on a delayed offside. That goal coming about 2 minutes into the first period. Huntsville taking a 1-0 lead on just their second shot on goal. Really were hoping to get the first one tonight. Given the way that they've played after scoring the first goal, have been an exponentially better team than they have been when starting when allowing the first goal, I should say. The Mayhem, when allowing the first goal, are 5-11-4 this season. Just 1-6-2 on the road. Puck's carried into the far corner and dropped off by Anthony Calabrese, the defenseman, playing just his 5th game with the Havoc, as Caleb Cameron will work it past Kyle Sharkey, and Jake Trask now has it in front of his own bench. He will drop it back. Kristaps Bazovic from center ice faked as though he were going to slap it on net from 100 feet. Seamer, in the meantime, gives it to Trask, who will shovel it wide of the short side post, and now it's brought down the wing by Ryan Salkad, the SPHL's leading goal scorer, with 20 goals on the campaign. Now Sharkey will chip it in. Seamer's got it behind his own goal line. He will distribute it to Jarrett Cup. Cup to Seamer, who slides it up to Derek Sutliff, who whacks it into his path in front of the opposing bench. Will chip it in from his backhand. It's fetched behind the Huntsville cage by Alec Brandrup, who's been on a roll of late. Has scored 10 points in as many games. Justin Levesque gloves it down and leads one outside of the reach of Trask. He had gained the red line, so no icing. It's dropped off by Condon. Sutliff takes the body to try to force a turnover, but Huntsville had escaped with the puck. Now Nukovic centers one. Nice pass. Here's a shot fought off by Creel. Huge stop on Steven Rahoriak, who had a point-blank opportunity. And Tanner Creel has only faced 3 shots. Check that, 4 shots, and has already made 2, I would say, at least B+, probably A-level saves, though he has conceded 1. Lots of high percentage scoring opportunities coming off the sticks of the Havoc so far tonight. Mayhem hoping to avoid any bus legs coming into this game. Got to get the first 5 or 6 minutes under them. It's usually the case when a team travels somewhere and plays the same day. Usually the golden rule or the threshold is 5 minutes. After the first 5 minutes, you're pretty good. Caligiuri swats it out past Christian Powers. Alexander Tallien will now leave it on a platter for Larry Smith. Smith was a +1 rating and had 3 shots on goal in his first game back from a 6-game injury. The Mayhem guilty of a Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing call. 4:24 have gone by in this contest. Macon still without a registered shot on goal. Huntsville countering with 4 of their own, including a goal coming off the stick of Pat Condon, his first game against Macon this season. So it's been cleared up past Vinny Caligiuri and recovered in the defensive zone by Peter Sakalis, who has just whipped it down the length. An icing call is made this time against Huntsville. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Peter Sakalis, somebody whose name does not resonate well with Mayhem fans at all. Last season scored the eventual game-winning goal in overtime in Macon to send the Havoc to an eventual President's Cup championship and send the Mayhem home. John Seamer able to win the offensive zone draw clearly to his fellow alternate captain, Zach Urban. It's picked off by Sakalis inside of his own trapezoid. Whipped out quickly now to Trevor Gerling, who is under some duress by Trask, but he's managed to clear it out to the University of Alabama Huntsville logo at center ice. The only Division I college hockey program in the South, the UAH Chargers. They share this building with the Havoc. Bazovic drops it for Trask. Bazovic is hit hard into the half wall on the near side. Lordy keeps his arm down. Here's a chance for Cameron, who whiffs on the one-timer as it flutters harmlessly into the catching glove of Max Milasek. And that was a nice pass from behind the net. I believe it was John Seamer who fed Cameron with a pass up the slot, and Cam just tried to pull the trigger too quickly, I think, and he sort of shanked it. And I think it's easier to see from way up here than it is when you're down on the ice in that situation, but I think he had less time than he actually did. He probably thought he had less time than he actually did because he tried to rifle off the pass from Seamer so quickly that just sort of puck bounced on him and fluttered into the glove of Milasek. Coach Thomas is elected to keep the same 5 players out there: Seamer, Trask, Cameron, and Bazovic and Urban on defense. Coach Thomas talked about how well disciplined Huntsville is, and the numbers don't lie, folks. They have taken fewer penalties than any team in the SPHL this season. They've got, well, it's no surprise when you consider the amount of veteran leadership at Glenn DeTulio's disposal. Lots of seasoned talent on his roster. Nukovic, the only player on the ice tonight over the age of 30. Now it's Kyle Sharkey from the red line. He will backhand it into Macon territory. Bazovic to Seamer. His touch pass is outside of the reach of Cameron. It's intercepted by Brandrup at center. He will hammer it back in. Seamer scoops it up behind his own goal, and he bounces one out to the near half wall. Kristaps Bazovic is there, and he spirits one out to neutral territory. It's backhanded back into the Mayhem zone by Nukovic and collected by Zach Urban. The ex-Toledo walleye from his own zone to Kristaps Bazovic. He will slot one up the middle. Nice pass. Trask's second pass was too far outside of the reach of Seamer. He pursues it all the same. Tyler Piacentini is sized up by Derek Sutliff, fresh off the bench. In the meantime, it's brought down the left wing side by Stephen Rahoriak, his off wing. His centering pass, turnaround shot, ricochets wide of the left post. And a close call there. Tanner Creel had his left pad extended. I believe he would have made the save had it been on net, as Kletcha now will carry it back into Huntsville territory while his teammates change. Dakota Kletcha had it speared off his stick by Pat Condon in the far corner. The lone goal scorer tonight, number 3 in the black sweaters. Those of you just now joining us, if you're curious about the black sweaters, they're in recognition of Wizard Night. They're calling it Harry Potter Night. Jerseys are Harry Potter themed, but for technical purposes, we have to call it Wizard Night, as the Mayhem have just iced the puck. That icing call brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Well, 13:09 yet to play in period 1. The Mayhem with a single shot on goal was denied by Max Millisak. Caleb Cameron, the lone player to shoot so far tonight. The Mayhem last night really improved on an area they'd been struggling in throughout the course of their 8-game skid, as a turnaround bid from the slot is denied by Creel. And now they score. Huntsville with a shot from the left half wall that directed over the shoulders of Creel. And a fluky bounce that it took, but it favors Huntsville, and Peter Sikalis will be credited with the goal. A couple of goals tonight, both of which have come from defensemen. And the Havoc are now up 2-0 in the first 7 minutes of play. I was just getting ready to talk about how well the Mayhem turned around their fortunes yesterday in the shots on goal department. That was an area they were really struggling in. They had not outshot an opponent in the same amount of time that it took them to win a game. So every one of those games the Mayhem lost in that skid, they had been outshot. Here's another chance, odd man rush. The shot sails over the crossbar, and the Mayhem catch a break as it's spirited up the left half boards. Sean Reynolds will catch up to it. He's joined on his right by Caligiuri. Reynolds' shot is paddled aside by Millisak with relative ease as it's chopped back behind the net. Christian Powers will send it down to Peter Sikalis, who is able to work a puck along the boards for Nukovic. He lobs it out to the left side board. Stepping into the middle is Christian Powers. Good natural goal scorer, pulled the trigger, got a lot of mustard on the shot, but Creel was square to it, and he made the save. 12:15 to play in the first period. Huntsville with a 2-0 lead. Goals from Condon and Sikalis, as it's played by Anthony Calabrese, who slap passes it through the slot and into the near half wall. It's collected by Sean Reynolds. He will send it to the zone from the neutral zone, and it's halted behind the crease there by Max Millisak. Scott Trask curls behind his own net with it. It's a heads-up pass up the middle of the ice, and it's taken away. A breakaway for Sharkey. Down the slot to the backhand shoot. Sprawling save by Creel, and he keeps the Mayhem within 2. Bazovic's outlets it to Jake Trask, who's harassed by Scott Trask. And now it's picked up by Zach Urban, and he's able to clear it. Urban hoists it out into the neutral zone. Caleb Cameron picks it up, dances into the slot, fires, hits the crossbar. It might have hit the elbow of the net. And Caleb Cameron nearly redeeming himself after that missed opportunity earlier. But here's Trask at the goal line, stick handling. His pass is outside of the reach of Seamer, and a miscue there will allow the Havoc the opportunity to change personnel. Sans Kyle Sharkey, who commences the forecheck. He will now retreat back and allow Piacentini to assume the F1 role. Taylor Love's got it on his stick. He carries behind his own net. Levesque passes through and returns the pass for Taylor Love. Jarrett Cupp backhands it out into the neutral zone. Swatted into the left side up to Levesque. He will send it over. It sails over the stick of Dakota Kletcha. Sutliff fed Levesque the pass. And now Nukovic pressured by Cupp, who gave him a nudge, but the Havoc have cleared it. Another breakaway. Piacentini shoots. Another save by Creel, bailing his team out time and time again here in the first period. The Havoc lead 2-0, folks, but I'm telling you right now, this game could easily be 4 or 5-0 had it not been for the brilliant efforts in goal by Tanner Creel. And Justin Levesque's pass is redirected off the stick of Alexander Tallien. It's slapped right back in. Creel is able to make a butterfly stick save. And now it's Larry Smith shoveling it off the corner boards on the far side. Tallien is able to accelerate it further out into Huntsville territory. Spinning back to collect it is Cy Nukovic. He will feed Powers, who shoots off the inside of the post. Ricochets up the slot. Second shot, third shot, all stopped by Creel, who's scrambling in the crease, and Minerva just wavering, clears it up and off a stanchion into the neutral zone. Seth Ronsberg swiveling across the line. Caligiuri gets a chance to his knees with a shot. It was denied by Max Millisek. Delayed penalty upcoming against Huntsville for the first time tonight. There will be a power play, and it will belong to Macon as Minerva's long bid sails wide of the right post. And my goodness, what a start. 2-0 scoreline doesn't quite do this one justice. Although I think the Mayhem are fortunate to be within just a pair right now. Few big missed chances on both sides, but the majority of the opportunities have gone to Huntsville so far. They've outshot the Mayhem 12-3. We're halfway through period one. 2-0 is the score. Both goals coming from Huntsville defensemen. Pat Condon first, Peter Sakalis second. And Tanner Creel has actually been having a pretty sensational start to this game despite the 2 goals against. He's made probably 2 or 3 elite level saves. The Mayhem have a chance to reward him and thank him right now as they're going to their first power play of this game. This Mayhem power play is brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. Last night, the Mayhem, with 3 opportunities on the man advantage, failed to convert. If you didn't catch it in the pregame preview, folks, that we wrote on Mayhem social media and published it on the website earlier today, one of the common denominators that's been the case every time the Mayhem have faced the Havoc this season, they've been severely under power played. Huntsville has gone to 20 power play opportunities and just 3 tilts against Macon. And we talked about how the Havoc have been the most disciplined team in the league so far this season. Coach Thomas and company really trying to get under their heads a little bit and to rattle them in ways that many teams fail to do. The puck drops in the left circle in the Huntsville zone. Won by the Mayhems at Seth Ronsberg. Bazovic flings it over. John Seamer is at the right point now. Redistributes it to Bazovic. Long wrist shot through traffic. Ronsberg may have gotten a piece of it on the way through, but it was stopped by the pads of Millisek. It's interrupted behind the net by Derek Pearl, who will shovel it off the boards. Kept in the zone by Bazovic, who whacked it with his stick. And now it's Ronsberg kicking it up to his blade. And we'll drop it back to the line. Bazovic spins it along the blue line perfectly, kept in the zone by Derek Sutliff, his former teammate with the Mississippi River Kings. Twisting and turning now is Calabrese inside of his own trapezoid. And the Havoc are able to clear it off the stanchions and down. It bounces. Kristaps Bazovic receives the pass from his goaltender Tanner Creel. The Mayhem with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining on the penalty called against Nolan Kaiser for hooking. Derek Sutliff from the right corner in the Huntsville zone reverses it along the end wall. Alec Brandrup is met by Kleta, but he escapes out the other side and clears it all the way down. Kristaps Bazovic pursues it. He will scoop it up deep in his own end. Bazovic sends it over to Caleb Cameron on his right. Cameron shovels it now to Jake Trask. He steps behind his own cage. 45 seconds to go on the power play. Trask with a full head of steam right up the middle of the ice. He gains the Huntsville blue line, centers it for Cameron. His return pass not quite in Trask's wheelhouse. Trask will collect it, outer hash marks to the far circle. He will give it down to the goal line. Cameron up to Urban. The return is in Cameron's path. Cameron catches up to it, centers, gets a return from Levesque. Caleb Cameron, top of the right circle, waits, Cross ice pass for Trask. Into the slot. Levesque redirected it over the crossbar. Collected by Cameron, far corner. Up to Urban at the top. Now to Trask above the left circle. He sends it over. Cameron right circle. Put it in front. Went past Levesque. Off the stick of Trask. And it's cleared by Huntsville's Nukovic. He gets the return quickly from Sharkey. In across the blue line. Sharkey with a short-handed opportunity. His shot is denied by Creel's blocker. Nice save by Tanner Creel. But the Mayhem have dropped their first power play opportunity of this game. That Mayhem power play brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe is now 0 for 1 on the night. And now it's Anthony Calabrese skating it down the right wing side, dropping it for Gerling, who steps into the high slot. Gerling is pickpocketed there by Zach Urban, who whiffs on the pass over towards Reynolds. And the Havoc have recovered. 7 minutes remain in the first period. Huntsville with a 2-0 lead and a 13-3 edge in shots on goal. The long diagonal pass bounces outside of Sean Reynolds' reach, and Max Milasek will just cradle that puck in his crease and take a defensive zone face-off. Sean Reynolds is somebody who's been a better player on the road than he has at home this season. All 3 of his goals since joining the Mayhem have come in opposing buildings. He's hoping to keep that trend going tonight against a very formidable foe in the Huntsville Havoc. The Mayhem, the Havoc jostling for 3rd place tonight in the SPHL standings. The Havoc have a 1-point edge in the standings and a game in hand over the Mayhem. And the puck drops. Ronsberg couldn't quite win it back to Larry Smith. It was the intended target there, and now Tyler Gerling will loft it over Smith's head, and it will careen back into Macon territory. Nick Minerva back to get it. Now Larry Smith, long pass up to Reynolds. It went between his skates. Reynolds intercepting it. And he's on a delayed offside now. Caligiuri helping him out, trying to move the puck down the boards. Instead, it goes up them, and Love will just rattle it back in. Few players change up as it's played by Alec Brandrup behind his own cage. Brandrup is the only player this season from Huntsville to have scored a goal at the Macon Centreplex. Back on Friday, January 25th, when the Havoc made their trip out to Macon, Brandrup was the lone player to score in that 4-1 Macon victory. Brandrup will slam it off the boards out towards the benches. Kyle Sharkey is dispossessed of it by Taylor Love, who sends a nice pass on the tape for John Seamer. Seamer spins with it. He sends it into the slot. Jake Trask catches up to it, defended closely by Scott Trask. No relation. Good pressure by Seamer. He takes the puck away, feeds it down to Trask in the corner, up to the point for Love. Love back to Trask. He will augment it behind the net. Cameron, nice pass for Trask, whose one-timer is denied by Milasek. Excellent lateral save by the Huntsville goaltender, and Ryan Salkat has just cleared it out to the red line. Sharkey will accelerate it deep into Mayhem territory. 5:20 to play in the first period. The Mayhem with a spectacular opportunity to cut the deficit in half, but Jake Trask was denied by a brilliant save made by Milasek. What a pass that was from Caleb Cameron. The no-look backhand pass across the crease. Nukovic, the recipient of a long stretch pass. Here's a chance for Horiak's shot. Shoulder save by Creel. Loose puck collected by Klecha, and out he races with it, joined by Levesque and Bazovics. Klecha couldn't slip by. The Mayhem are on a delayed offside as the whistle blows. We're now going to head to our 3rd and final media timeout of this first period, and while we do that, we'd like to extend our invitations to anyone tuned in out there to join the Mayhem at the Macon Centreplex next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Lots of events coming up at the Centreplex, folks. 6 home games remain in the 2018-19 regular season. 5 of them will be in March. 1 of them will be the last day of February. The Mayhem will have College Night next Thursday, February 28th, and on March 1st, they will have Princess Night. On March 2nd, they will have Pucks and Paws. So lots of exciting events going on at the Mac Shack next weekend. Pucks and Paws Night, folks, if you haven't already done so, head to the Mayhem website under the Community tab. There's a Pucks and Paws Wiener Dog registration for the Wiener Dog races on Pucks and Paws Night. Tyler Layfield, the Mayhem's director of ticketing, I had the chance to catch up with him, and he will fill you folks in on all the details during the first intermission with all things pertaining to next weekend. Our final media timeout of the first period is in the books. Again, 2-0 your score with under 5 minutes to play in period 1. The Havoc leading 2-0 and a 14-5 advantage in shots on goal. Yasentini, the first star of last Sunday night's game against the Evansville Thunderbolts. Ricochets on goal. Tanner Creel made an alert stick save, and now it's Rahoriak jostling for it and backhanding it up to Pearl, who is pinching a bit aggressively. The Mayhem will try to make him pay as Kletcha starts it down on the counterattack on his off wing. He will dip the shoulder and drive wide on Anthony Calabrese. Kletcha sets up Justin Levesque behind the opposing cage. Levesque dropping it for Derek Sutliff. He will twist it back towards Levesque, who was well covered at the time by Derek Pearl. And Anthony Calabrese will send it up. It's careened off the stick or the skates of Stephen Rahoriak, and Dakota Kletcha caught on an offside, or excuse me, a too many men on the ice penalty, it looks like, as Kletcha was in the process of changing and hopping off the ice, and yep, that will be the call, folks. Too many men on the ice against the Mayhem. We were wondering when Huntsville's first power play was going to be and what the cause of it would be. Nobody would have guessed that it would be a too many men on the ice infraction. A bench minor called against Macon. Alexander Tallien will serve it. When you're changing up, folks, so normally when players skate to the bench, others hop on before they're 100% off the ice. From that point on, the puck cannot touch them. As a backhand shot, score. Peter Sakalis, right off the faceoff, has just buried his second goal of the game. Just took all of 3 seconds on the power play. Right after the faceoff, Peter Sakalis has just lit the lamp for the second time tonight, his first 2-goal game of the season. And the Havoc now lead 3-0. So 4 minutes remain in the first period. Huntsville securing a commanding 3-0 lead, just the way the Mayhem did around the same time of the first period last night. And they're just now announcing the too many men on the ice penalty, which I didn't even get done explaining before Huntsville scored. 4 seconds into the power play, right after the faceoff took place, really. Sakalis, a defenseman, I should remind you, just drove to the front of the net and in search of a rebound and finished it off, had a backhand shot like a forward on that play. And Sean Reynolds is stymied by Tyler Gerling on the near half boards. A 4-man scrum takes place that's equally divided in the corner on the near side. Excellent keep by Alec Brandrup, who fires a wrist shot that ricochets over the crossbar and it bounces off the end glass. Now it's Gerling slipping it into the middle. It's picked off and cleared by Jarrett Cupp. Seth Ronsberg will pursue it and catch up to it. He's defended by Brandrup. The shot sails over the crossbar. Nice idea there by Ronsberg as Cameron intercepts the pass, feeds it over to Trask. He shoots, he scores. Jake Trask has just scored his team-leading 19th goal of the season, and finally this line has come through. They've had so many opportunities to score tonight. Either they were denied by the crossbar, the elbow, the post, or the goaltender. Not this time, as Jake Trask finishes off the crisp pass given to him by Caleb Cameron. Excellent forecheck by the Mayhem to force the issue, force the turnover, and get back into this game. There's a big difference between going into the first intermission down by 3 and 3-0 versus going into the first intermission down 3-1. So pretty substantial goal there scored by the Mayhem alternate captain Jake Trask, who with that strike now is tied with Birmingham's Mike Davis for second place in the SPHL for goals this season with 19. The only player he's trailing at the moment is Huntsville's very own Ryan Salket. Offside is called against the Havoc. Ryan Salket, somebody who played 40 games for the Mayhem in the 16-17 and 17-18 seasons. And was let go by the team last season and now leads the SPHL in goals. Neutral zone faceoff will take place in front of the penalty boxes. Justin Levesque against Scott Trask, won by the former of the two. Bazovic's pass is intercepted by the stick of Sharkey, who wheels into the slot, feeds it over for a one-time blast that flies wide of the glove side post, and Sutliff takes the puck away from Pearls. He races down the left side. Sharkey with an excellent back check. Sutliff with a sharp angle shot, denied by Millisek. Sutliff catches back up to a great speed. Bazovic's long wrist shot ricochets wide of the left post, and it's picked up by Kletcha. Given to Levesque, dropped back to Kletcha, who will reverse it back along the wall. It'll never reach Bazovic. It's taken away by Salked and cleared in by Trask. Scott Trask, I should specify, who will take Bazovic into the corner on the far side of the ice. Justin Levesque receives the ring around. And Sutliff really putting the pressure on Tyler Piacentini, who has dumped it back behind Macon, behind the Macon net. And Urban will send it off of the cage. Bazovic's there to collect it. Kristaps Bazovic, Macon's top scoring defenseman this season with 18 points. Had a couple of assists last night. He was credited with a goal, but I believe it will be changed to Ronsberg, as if I'm not mistaken. Ronsberg redirected it on the way through. Bazovic took the initial shot, and Ronsberg's got it now. Reynolds makes a break for it. Ronsberg attempts the pass just behind him. No icing here, however, as it's picked up by Derek Pearl behind the Huntsville cage. He will spear it one out to neutral territory. Down the left wing side, it's brought by Sinukovic. Good drop pass between the skates. Gerling's shot is stymied by Reynolds. Whack behind the goal. The pass out to Brandrup, whose one-timer is denied by Tanner Creel. Excellent aggressive save by the Birmingham, Alabama native, who just came out very aggressively on top of his crease to challenge the one-time shot by Alec Brandrup. With the way that Huntsville's defensemen have played tonight, it's almost surprising that Brandrup hasn't scored a goal. He's got 10 points in as many games recently, and was the only Havoc player to score a goal in Huntsville's lone trip to Macon this season. All three of the Havoc's goals have been scored by defensemen. The first one by Pat Condon, the next two by Peter Sakalis. Macon's lone goal coming off the stick of Jake Trask. 1:09 yet to be played in the first period. 18-7 your shots on goal favoring Huntsville. The puck will drop to the left of Tanner Creel. Flutters back across the blue line, and it's played by Anthony Calabrese. He will send one diagonally onto the tape of Christian Powers, who steps in over the blue line. Powers will slide it inside of the trapezoid behind Creel. It's worked up by Seamer and carried down the right wing side. Seamer's pass lands on Cameron's skates. He will kick it up to his stick and dump it in. It looked like he had just gained the red line, so no icing. Centering pass, Trask scores! Jake Trask, with 2 goals in as many minutes, has just brought the Mayhem back to within 1. John Seamer out-hustled the opposition to the puck behind the goal line, centered it out in front. Jake Trask with a point-blank goal on Max Milasek. 2 straight games now where Jake Trask has scored Macon's first 2 goals of the night. Again, a candidate for the natural hat trick. I probably shouldn't have said that, because every time I do, it seems to jinx it. But Jake Trask has just tied Ryan Salked for the league lead in goals with 20. But more importantly, the Mayhem are back to within 1 with 42 seconds remaining in period 1. Kyle Sharkey dumps the puck in. Taylor Love has some difficulty with it. Sharkey pressuring him, turnaround shot stopped by Creel, who scrambles on the rebound and makes the save. And there's some pushes and shoves taking place over there in the far corner. For the first time we've seen that this season. Or this evening, I should say. Huntsville knows how to stay out of the penalty box better than anybody. This season, Macon, in terms of penalties, ranked 3rd in the SPHL, 3rd most per game at least, 15.3 penalty minutes per game on average, countered by Huntsville's meager 11.4. 28.4 seconds remain in the first period. The Mayhem with a defensive zone face-off to deal with here. It's fed behind the net for Kyle Sharkey, who will send it back up the slot. And it's kept in the zone by Sinukovic, who will careen it on into the corner on the near side of the ice. Scott Trask couldn't make a play on it as Sutliff has his head up, makes the pass up to Levesque, who's joined by Kletcha. Levesque's pass is outside of Kletcha's reach. It's whistled around the boards by Milasek, halted by Levesque, centered for Sutliff, whose shot is denied. Kletcha with the rebound, looking for it. He's pointing to the back end of the net, signaling a goal. But Lordy has his arms up, saying no goal. And now another altercation taking place immediately thereafter. Wow, folks, you want to talk about not giving up. The Mayhem started this game down 3-0. And a lot of teams in this situation would have sort of turtled and just had the look of defeat written all over them. Not the case in the slightest for the Mayhem, who just continued to battle and work their way back into this contest. A pair of goals by the Mayhem's top scoring line, Jake Trask, John Seymour, Caleb Cameron. They probably could have had a goal or two more than they actually did. Caleb Cameron had a one-time opportunity from right between the middle hash marks that he just didn't get much on. It sort of fluttered into Milastek's glove. Cameron, I'm sure, would like to have that one back. Leo Thomas, Ryan Michael right now fist bumping everyone as they head back to down the tunnel, back into the dressing room with that excellent effort they put on display in the later stages of period one. An extremely slow start for the Mayhem, and they really just roared back to completely change the dynamic of this game. The difference in entering the first intermission down 3-0 versus entering the first intermission down 3-2 is just so substantial, not only from the Mayhem's point of view, but from Huntsville's. There's been a wake-up call on both sides so far in the opening 20 minutes of play, which is quite rare as far as first periods go. So the Mayhem this season, when entering the first intermission with the lead, entering the first intermission trailing, the Mayhem are just 1-8-2. On the road, they've got their lone win in that respect, 1-4-0. The good news is, historically, this season, the Mayhem's best period is yet to come. They've been the second best team in the SPHL this season in terms of their third period scoring. This season in period 3, they've got 48 goals for, 34 goals against. The third period has been by far the Mayhem's strongest period this season. And they're hoping that it can be the case again tonight in spite of the bus lags and in spite of the fact the Mayhem played last night and the Havoc did not. The Havoc do have an enormous advantage on their side, the rest factor, folks. They didn't travel and they didn't play yesterday, which puts them at a pretty strong advantage as this game started. And I think it showed in the first few minutes of play. The Havoc clearly the superior team, and put 3 goals. It's a shame that they managed to put 3 goals up on the board before the Mayhem could strike back, but that is what happened. You've got to credit Huntsville for really demonstrating that killer instinct. I can almost assure you that Glenn DeTulio's message to his team was to not sit back on Macon, to strike fast, early, and often, and really just go full throttle in the first few minutes, because they knew almost without a doubt that the Havoc would have the advantage of energy and would not be dealing with fatigue as the Mayhem were. So Huntsville used that to their advantage, executed virtually perfect opening 10 minutes of play or so given this situation, but the Mayhem responded and responded well. So right now there's a game of Quidditch going on as for the intermission game. So man, that's something that we can take away from this trip up to Huntsville, if nothing else. So I'll have to make sure that our game ops director, Colin Mitchell, sees what's going on here. The Mayhem had a Harry Potter night ourselves this season back on December 22nd. We had a few Harry Potter festivities, but we definitely, we might have had Quidditch on the ice, but I don't remember it looking quite like this with the hoops up in the air like this. This is pretty neat. But, anyways, we hope you've enjoyed the broadcast up till this point, folks. It's been an exciting first period, a rough start for the Mayhem. They found themselves trailing 3-0 pretty early on. Huntsville just wasting no time whatsoever, lighting the lamp 3 times. All 3 of their goals coming from defensemen. 2 from Peter Sakalis, and the first one from Condon very early into the contest. And then Jake Trask responded with a pair of goals of his own. Caleb Cameron assisted him on the first one, and John Seymour on the second. That line's really been all over the offensive zone so far to start this tilt. So despite Huntsville mustering up a 3-goal lead in the first 16 minutes of play, Jake Trask responded a minute later, and then 2 minutes and 15 seconds after his first one, he got another one and can still technically get the natural hat trick in period 2. In the meantime, folks, we're going to take a break here on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast up till this point. Our first road broadcast so far in the 2018-19 regular season. In the meantime, please enjoy this intermission interview with the Mayhem Director of Ticketing, Tyler Layfield. Much for joining us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by New Line, and on YouTube. We're glad you decided to join us for some Friday night hockey. For the first time this season, the Mayhem front office staff traveling on the road, live from Huntsville, Alabama. Alex Boncourt, the voice of your Mayhem, joined by Director of Ticketing, Tyler Layfield. Tyler, first off, really appreciate your time, and thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, Tyler, it's our first time traveling this season, like we said. What have been some of your takeaways, and how have you liked the trip out here so far?
Trip was a little longer than expected. Made the mistake of drinking 2 cups of coffee before I come, so had to make a couple bathroom stops. So that was a little tough. But overall, it's been fun hanging with the boys. We just had a good time. It was great getting here, being able to check out the facility here in Huntsville. It's a work of art, man. It's really something. I'm glad to be here and appreciate being able to come here and learn from some of the best here in the SPHL.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful facility here at Von Braun Arena. For most of us, for just about all of us, it's our first time here, myself included, so it's really been a sight to behold. The only home of Division I college hockey team in the South, the UAH Chargers, playing here, of course, University of Alabama, Huntsville. You thought this trip was long, Tyler. Try going up to the Midwest to Peoria, 14 hours on a bus, stopping twice in 2 different cities before even making it to the destination. Fortunately, you won't have to be doing that anytime soon. But getting back to the hockey side of things, last night was a huge win for the Mayhem. They came away with a 6-2 decision over the Evansville Thunderbolts. First and only time that the Mayhem hosted that team all season, and Coach Thomas described it as a must-win. You probably got a good sense of the atmosphere and the vibes in the arena, being pretty close to a lot of the season ticket holders. What was that sort of ambiance like at the Centreplex yesterday, with the fans starting to realize once the Mayhem went up 3 or 4 goals that they were going to have that one in the bag and finally snap the skid that the team was on?
Oh, man, yeah, just a great game overall. You kind of summed it up pretty well. We started off, it was a little bit of back and forth, tay-to-tay. Both teams really going at it hard, but then when we busted that cap and, like you said, got up 3-0, the fan spirits really got up. We've been going through a tough skid, as you said before. We really needed this to lift our spirits. We were glad to have our season ticket holders there and some of our truest fans, coming out on a Thursday night. I know everybody isn't able to make it, but may not have had the biggest number out there, but man, the spirit was great in the arena. You wouldn't have been able to tell that it was just, the number it was, but we were represented well, for sure. And, the team really gave the fans something to cheer for, and it was a great game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, even the ushers were saying that it didn't seem like a crowd of 1,100 or whatever it was, because it sounded so much louder than that, and it definitely goes to show that the fans that were in attendance yesterday for some Thursday night hockey, some of the most loyal fans the Mayhem had to offer. Now, Tyler, you're somebody who's from Central Georgia originally, didn't necessarily grow up around the sport of hockey, and yet your first job out of college is working for a pro hockey team. What was sort of your expectation coming into the gig, and has it played out the way you were expecting it to?
Yeah, so, growing up in Middle Georgia, originally from Milledgeville, Georgia, like you said, hockey wasn't a huge part of my life. I did grow up coming to the Macon Whoopies games and Macon tracks with my dad, my aunt and uncle, and my aunt and uncle, they've continued that tradition, getting season tickets every year. But so I grew up in that kind of sense. I watched a little bit of NHL growing up, the Stanley Cup Finals and whatnot. But yeah, like you said, wasn't a huge part. But going to college, majoring in sport management with a minor in business, I really specialized in the sport field. So, coming out of college, just getting a job, like this, especially as a startup, not having to go to an internship that's unpaid, getting a director job right out of college, I'm really blessed. I'm honored to have the position, and I guess expectations coming into the position. I mean, I knew it was going to be some big responsibilities. I heard coming in that I would have some big shoes to fill from the previous person that held the position. But these season ticket holders, these fans have been nothing but welcoming. They've given me a great time. I've enjoyed forming relationships with them, great friendships. We've grown very close, and I look forward to continuing those friendships, those relationships going forward, and and everything that the future holds for us. But yeah, the duties have been, it's nothing I can't handle. I'm a great people person, I believe. So yeah, it's just been a blessing. Like I said, it's just been a blessing.
Yeah, and those season ticket holders that you mentioned will absolutely be thrilled with the upcoming games and promotions that we have. The Mayhem still with 6 games remaining on their home calendar, 5 in March, 1 at the very last day of February, next Thursday. Talk about some of the promotions that the Mayhem have coming up and some of the deals that people can get for affordable options for family fun here coming up throughout late February and early March.
Yeah, so next Thursday we'll be playing the Birmingham Bulls. A great team. The last time we played that team in the back-to-back. We won one, they won one. It was a great matchup. It should be a great game. That's going to be our college night. So anybody that shows up with their college ID can get in for $8, and college groups that bring their IDs can get group ticket sales for $10, and that comes with a hat as well as an experience upgrade, and getting that exclusivity of having their group marked off in the stands. So yeah, it's great. Our general admission will be $10 for anybody else that's not a college student, and yeah, so come out, have a good time. This past Thursday, or just yesterday, better yet, we had a great group of college students come in. I remember Theta Chi came in last night. They just went through the terrible thing about having their fraternity house burned down in Milledgeville. It was great to have them come out. Man, you would not have been able to tell that they had just went through that hardship. They were giving it their all. They brought that student section feel to the game, banging on the glass, giving the other team a bunch of crap. So it was great having them in the house. Friday night we got our Princess Night coming up. Group tickets will be $13 a piece. General admission, 16 kids under the age of 12, 8. So yeah, come on out. Bring all the little girls, all the females in. They'll have a great time. Honestly, Princess Night. So it'll be fun. And Saturday night, we can't forget that Pucks and Paws. Be ready to bring your dogs out. We got the wiener dog races coming. Make sure to get the wiener dog registered online if you haven't already. We got to get that going. Should be a fun time. The same rates apply. We'll be having a ton of stuff going on in our lobby, a bunch of adoption places, foundations. We're going to have a radio station outside, so come out, get a chance to win some free tickets. Come out, support the team, bring your dog, have a great time.
All right, that sounds great. Last question for you, Tyler. What's your final prediction here tonight?
All right, so from everything I've gathered, I've heard that Huntsville's been going through a little bit of a struggle here lately. I know that they beat Evansville, but I'm going to say coming off of last night's win, off of the great spirit that our fans brought them, coming off that momentum, I think the Macon Mayhem pull out a 4-3 win, and yeah, I think that'll be it, yeah.
All right, well, that sounds like a really reasonable prediction. The Mayhem putting up 6 on the board last night and hoping to carry over some of that offensive mojo. It had been a while since they managed to score 3 goals in the game, let alone 6. So that was a huge boost to the team's morale, and we'll see if that carries over tonight in the Mayhem's second-to-last game at Von Braun Arena this season. Tomorrow night will be their last. Alex Von Coydel here in your first intermission interview with Mayhem Director of Ticketing, Tyler Layfield. We'll be back in just a moment with your Marriott Hotel Out-of-Town scoreboard update and more right after this. Keep it right here. All right, welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that interview with Mayhem Director of Ticketing, Tyler Layfield, somebody else who made the trip up to Huntsville this weekend to enjoy some Mayhem hockey on the road and learn from some of the more seasoned staff members here in Huntsville. A lot of these folks here who work in the front office, they've been doing this job a long time. The Havoc have been in Huntsville for a long time, and this is not their first rodeo. There's a lot of experience in that front office, so all of us having an opportunity to learn from them and what they do here to really generate outstanding crowds just night after night. And I'm told that tomorrow night's audience will be substantially longer than this one for Huntsville's Pucks and Paws night. It's a shame that we won't be able to be here to see it, but the Mayhem have their own Pucks and Paws night to look forward to. In case you didn't hear it from Tyler during that intermission interview, Pucks and Paws night, folks, next Saturday, March 2nd at the Macon Centreplex. If you haven't already done so, register your wiener dog for the wiener dog race during the first intermission of that game. We did a wiener dog race last year. That was a lot of fun. It got great response, and people just absolutely love it. So sign on up. Head to MaconMayhem.com. Under the community tab, the wiener dog races, or the Pucks and Paws night page should be under the community tab. You can click on that, sign up your wiener dog by filling out the form, and we'll get you all squared away next Saturday. Of course, there are a couple of games before that as well that we don't want to overlook. Thursday night is college night. Same rules apply as they did this past college night. $8 tickets to come to the game for college students with the presentation of a valid college ID. And then $10 admission for the general public, $10 for college groups, which include free hats and an experience upgrade of your choosing. For more information on Mayhem groups and fundraising opportunities, you can call the Mayhem front office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at 478-803-1592. Some of those experience upgrades, folks, that are given to groups, in case you were wondering, they range from span a range of all sorts of things. You can do bench buddies, where you stand on the bench. Your group stands on the bench and watches the Mayhem warm up from the home bench. A high five tunnel, where you can go down into the tunnel between the locker room and the entrance when the players come out onto the ice, and high five them, cheer them on, fist bump them, get them all fired up and ready to go. You can do the color guard. You can get a picture on the ice after the game. So lots of options. And then Princess Night, of course, on Friday, as the Mayhem play host to the Fayetteville Marksmen Friday and Saturday. Thursday night's tilt will be against Birmingham, who have really built a pretty substantial lead on their stranglehold in second place of the SPHL. They're 7 points behind Peoria, but they're 10 points ahead of Huntsville. So they're somebody who's sort of in a similar spot to Pensacola, where it doesn't matter what happens for the next couple of weeks, they're going to be in the same position. Pensacola sort of locked into 8th place right now, which I would think is fine with them, as it does mean they have clinched a playoff spot. Obviously, they'd like to be a higher seed than that, but they won't be catching the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs anytime soon. They're sitting 9 points behind them and 6 points ahead of Quad City. So there's really a competitive. Now the Mayhem have sort of dropped down into that middling range of teams, the top end of the middling range, albeit, but they're now in close contention with Knoxville, Fayetteville, Roanoke, and the likes of them, and Huntsville, of course. All 5 of those teams jostling in the middle of the pack in the SPHL right now. Huntsville a point ahead of Macon. Macon 2 points ahead of Knoxville and Fayetteville by winning last night. They saw to that. And then Roanoke sitting firmly at 6 points behind the Mayhem and the SPHL standings. Recapping the first period for you real quick, folks. Huntsville got off to the start that they knew that they could, given the fact that Macon played yesterday and then traveled here the day of the game. They took advantage of Macon's bus legs, there's no question about it. Pat Condon, Peter Sakalis, each scoring. A pair of Huntsville Blue Liners getting the job done for Glenn DeTulio and the Havoc. But the Mayhem were not done fighting. Jake Trask scored a pair of goals for the second time in as many nights. He scored the first 2 goals of the night for Macon, and remains a candidate for the natural hat trick, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, means scoring 3 goals uninterrupted by anybody else's scoring. So if Jake Trask scores the next goal, he'll become the first player this season on the Mayhem to get the natural hat trick, which is no small feat. And briefly, while we've got a second, let's take a look around the SPHL for your out-of-town scoreboard update. Busy night in the Southern Professional Hockey League. Last night there were only a few teams who played due to it being a Thursday. Yesterday the Fayetteville actually played really early in the morning and managed to hold on for a 4-3 victory over the Pensacola Ice Flyers up at the Crown Coliseum in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Tonight 8 of the 10 teams in the league are playing. Quad City is in Evansville, trailing the Thunderbolts by a 1-0 score in the first intermission, and Peoria up 2-0 over the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs at the moment up at Carver Arena, otherwise known as the Peoria Civic Center, and then Birmingham leading 1-0 over the Knoxville Ice Bears. So right now, every home team is winning, albeit by a pretty slim margin. So Pensacola and Fayetteville, who played early yesterday, are the only 2 teams that are idle tonight in the SPHL. 3-2 is your score in favor of Huntsville. Most of the momentum, however, on the side of the visitors. They have scored the 2 most recent goals and are hoping to level this thing up as period 2 is now underway. Kristaps Bazovic will slide the puck back to Zach Urban, who sends it up in the direction of Jake Trask. He will try to glove it out of midair. Kyle Sharkey whacking it past him. Zach Urban intercepts it and will motor down the right wing. Urban sends it at the net calmly, and it's handled routinely by Max Milasek. And what do you know, the first whistle of period 2 immediately results in pushes and shoves that happened the last couple of whistles in period 1. And 20 minutes were nowhere near enough to defuse the tempers, it appears. Tonight, Huntsville 1 for 1 on their power play, Macon 0 for 1 on theirs. Peter Sakalis striking with his 6th goal of the season, second of the game, his first multi-goal game on the campaign, which, if the score were to hold, would stand as the game-winning goal. Perhaps the most frustrating part about that for the Mayhem was the fact that it was a penalty for too many men on the ice, which very seldom happens. The puck went off of Dakota Kletcha's skate as he was returning to the Macon bench, so an enormous stroke of misfortune as Cameron wires it on goal, stopped by Milasek, who loses his stick in doing so, as Trask will switch places with Urban, wheels up to the slot, rifles a shot that missed the elbow of the net on the left side wide of the glove side post of Milasek. He recovers his stick, and Seamer leaves it for Trask at the bottom of the right circle. He will deliver behind the net. Curl and drag move by Cameron, who tried to pull the trigger, couldn't do it, had the puck on a string, and Huntsville will recover and skate it out to center. It's brought up the middle by Piacentini. Derek Pearl, his shot is denied by the glove of Tanner Creel. As the puck lobs up to the blue line, kept in the zone by Pearl, as Nukovic will carry it down the right half wall and center it. It's redirected wide of the cage. Creel never had to make a stop, and Sutliff will send Trask the pass. The return is behind Sutliff. It lands on the tape of Seamer, who will deliver it behind the net. Sutliff begins the forecheck. Derek Sutliff ranking 2nd on the Mayhem in goals scored this season with 16 on the campaign. Rahoriak steps in over the blue line. Piacentini dropping it for a snapshot. Saved by Creel. They score on the rebound. It's Cy Nukovic scoring an enormous momentum-shifting goal for the Havoc to put the home side up by 2. That's Cy Nukovic's 12th goal on the campaign, Huntsville's oldest player. Clearly with plenty of gas left in the tank. Able to give the Havoc a 4-2 advantage early in period 2. Just a minute and 22 seconds have gone by in the second, and that's all it took for Huntsville to redouble its lead. Alec Brandrup will guide it on over now for Pat Condon, who opened the scoring tonight. Piacentini receives the long diagonal stretch pass, and he will deposit it into the far corner of the ice. Stephen Rahoriak jostling for it, and Jarrett Cup will feed Dakota Kletcha, who airmails it out into the neutral zone. Sutliff's in across the blue line onside. Couldn't dipsy-doodle his way through Brandrup. Nice pass over to Cup, who gets it above the right circle. He sends it wide of the net, hoping for a friendly deflection from Sutliff, which never came, but here's Levesque driving from his backhand, trying to send one to the side of the goal for Tallene. It was picked off and cleared. Rather, that was Kletcha, the intended target, and it's been sent behind the Macon goal and picked up by Taylor Love. His pass was a hot one. It bounced off the stick of Justin Levesque. Huntsville on the counter. Colton Walter is ridden into the corner on the far side by Taylor Love. The Fairbanks, Alaska native Walter staying on it, trying to move it in a productive direction. And here's an opportunity for Nukovic again. This time it was blocked. That was Walter, rather, who took the shot, and Kletcha has it escape his reach. He will now just turn his attention towards the Macon bench and complete what's left of this line change. 17:20 to play in the second period. Huntsville with a 4-2 advantage here at Von Braun Center. Nick Minerva receives the pass from his own corner. He will try to spirit one up to Vinny Caligiuri. It was picked off, and Rahoriak takes it in the corner on the near side of the ice. Minerva picks his pocket and sends it behind the net. Larry Smith, the graduate of Niagara University. It's fired on net from about 130 feet, and alertly making the save there was Milasek. Minerva sends it into the Huntsville end. Ronsberg bats it out of midair and motors it back in from the left circle. His shot is stopped by the chest of Max Milasek, and Seth Ronsberg hoping for his second goal in as many games, as many nights. Not the case, as Milasek was able to deny him with the chest. Seth Ronsberg last night had a pretty black and blue game. He fought against Nick Wright, who stands at 6'4", 215 pounds, and I think that's not quite being generous. That's a low-end calculation for Nick Wright's size. Not only is he a big boy, but he's a tough guy. He ranks third in the entire SPHL in penalty minutes this season with 104. Jake Trask sends it behind the net, and it's Caleb Cameron receiving it. John Seamer bounces it off the boards to Zach Urban, who's able to do some nice knife work to keep it in the attacking zone. Cameron from the right corner with a little bit of space. Drops it around the end wall. It's picked off by Sinukovic, the most recent goal scorer, who sends it around the boards onto the far side, whacked at the net and stopped by Milasek, who's just thrown that way by Bazovics, who demonstrated superb stick handling and deft hands yesterday. He's really great on his skates. He knows how to be deceptive with the puck and fool opposing forwards into getting a few extra seconds of time to make the most optimal play. The most optimal play in that situation was just whack it at the net, get an offensive zone draw. John Seamer will step into the face-off circle now. He's countered by Colton Wolter. Seamer wins the draw cleanly. Bazovics hammers a one-timer. That's waffle boarded aside by Max Milasek. The puck's been cleared over Bazovics' stick. He will race after it and pick it up right alongside Tanner Creel. Bazovics up to Trask. His pass is well outside of the reach of Seamer. It's recovered by Huntsville's Peter Sakalis. He's able to wedge it up the wall. Squirts out to center. The Havoc could get a 2-on-1. Left wing side, Scott Trask with a shot. Pad save, Creel. He covers the rebound with his glove to prevent a second opportunity. Tanner Creel still looking for his first win as a member of the Macon Mayhem. He's had some pretty good showings and some pretty good starts, but as we said, folks, earlier, when in the time that Creel's been here, there's only been one time the Mayhem have scored more than twice. It's unfortunate when he's been in net, there has not been a whole heck of a lot of run support. Alec Brandrup steps into the high slot, wheels down and shoots, stopped by Creel. He was square to that one and again, did not give up a rebound. And we're going to get another face-off in the far circle in the Mayhem zone. And Scott Trask will step in against Justin Levesque, who ranks third in the SPHL in plus-minus this season. Jarrett Cupp sends it off the glass, kept in the zone by Condon from his off wing. He's dispossessed of it by Sutliff, but he recovered. Now Sharkey rolls a pass back up the slot. There weren't any dark sweaters in the vicinity as Kletcha will race it back down the right wing side. Joined by Sutliff. Kletcha's drop pass for Levesque is neutralized and cleared by Condon, who races back after it in his own zone. It caroms off the far half wall, and Condon will just wedge it behind his own net. Alec Brandrup to Condon now. Pat Condon, long pass redirected into the zone by Scott Trask. Check that, it was Tyler Gerling. Larry Smith, heads up pass to spring Seth Ronsberg on his way. He gives it to Caligiuri, who's knocked off balance by Gerling. Caligiuri will race back out to the red line to recover. He will twist it into Huntsville territory. It's recovered now by Calabrese behind his own cage. Anthony Calabrese playing in just his fifth game with the Havoc and first against the Mayhem this season. Slots a pass right up the middle of the ice and over the blue line skates Gerling. Nice move to his backhand shoot, stopped by Creel. Some smooth hands put on display by Tyler Gerling, the Seattle native. In his first season in Huntsville, has proven to be a pretty dependable playmaker and dangler for Glenn DeTulio and the Havoc. This season putting up 20 assists through 38 games played. Thanks again so much for joining us tonight, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast and the game up till this point. We're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We'll be right back right after these messages.
This season, the Mayhem are offering a great group package. Whether you're a school, a church, a company, or just a group of friends, give the Mayhem office a call and we'll set you up with an incredible group deal. From $13 tickets to free team hats to a unique experience upgrade of your choosing, the Mayhem have got you and your group covered. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to purchase your group tickets to a Mayhem game today.
So Cy Nukovic will enter the left circle in the offensive zone. He's beaten on the draw by John Seamer, who's been an ace on the dot so far tonight. Bazovic carries dangerously in front of his own net, but got rid of the puck at the perfect time. Trask was met by Sakalis, however, who forced the turnover. It's been dumped again behind the Macon goal. Offside, or rather icing, I beg your pardon, is the call against the Havoc. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 14-14 yet to play in the second period. Huntsville with a 4-2 advantage and a 26-16 edge in the shots on goal department. Huntsville tonight has contributions from 3 players: Pat Condon, Peter Sakalis with 2 goals, and Cy Nukovic. Macon, on the other hand, both of its goals coming from the same player, number 29 in white, who's still out there, Jake Trask. As Bazovic will send it behind the net, it's stopped by Trask, who looks to the front and will just send it onto the back. Bazovic with the shot, shoulder save by Milasek. Some ooze coming from the crowd as it looked like a bit of an awkward save there made by Max Milasek, as Trask will cut off the clearing attempt and get it back to Urban. Urban sends it back to Trask as it flutters into the corner now, as Cameron is watched carefully by Peter Sakalis. He's able to kick it up to his stick and whack it down the length of the ice. This will be far enough. Icing will be the call against Huntsville. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. And Coach Thomas is actually keeping the same forward unit out there. Caleb Cameron, John Seamer, and Jake Trask all staying on the ice tonight, or for this following face-off. Taylor Love and Jarrett Cupp, rather, a couple of new blue liners. Jarrett Cupp's been excellent against Huntsville this season. 4 points in just 3 games played against the Havoc. His last game against them, he had a goal and 2 assists, and last night was a +3. John Seamer with an offensive zone face-off win. Huntsville able to swarm the puck quickly and take it off of Trask's stick. Now Love has it in his own zone. The ex-Carolina Thunderbird clears it off the glass. Caleb Cameron with a nice interception. Will send it down the left boards for John Seamer. He did not touch it, so icing is called against Macon. That icing call brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. The pass from Love to Seamer looked like it was on the tape, but maybe just in an awkward spot, somewhere between the skates and the stick. What we call a tweener of a pass, and Seamer just couldn't handle it. Taylor Love last night actually led the Mayhem with 5 shots on goal yesterday. He was really pressuring Braden Ostapchuk from all angles. As Huntsville gets another opportunity following an offensive zone face-off win, they score on the wraparound. And these face-off goals just continue to haunt the Mayhem. This one will be credited to Tyler Gerling. And the Mayhem folks, they've got to do a better job in these defensive zone face-offs and cracking down on their coverage, because Huntsville's now struck twice immediately following an offensive zone draw. It's easy to be caught flat-footed in situations like that and not really be 100% alert right after a face-off takes place. Either you're still thinking about the last play and your mind's not 100% in it yet. Whatever the case is, it's just defensive zone draws have been an issue for the Mayhem from time to time this season, and certainly has been tonight. So Colton Wolter will send the puck into Macon territory, and Tanner Creel halts it behind his own net and reverses it up the half wall on the near side. Condon slaps it to Brandrup, tees it up, gives it back to Condon in the deep slot. He pulls the trigger, and that's stopped by Creel through lots of traffic. Another heated disagreement taking place right in front of Creel's net. 12:50 to play in the second period. Macon now trailing Huntsville by a 5-2 margin. So it's really back to where we began, essentially. Mayhem's greatest deficit so far this game was 3 goals. That was reached by Peter Sakalis in the 16th minute of period 1. Huntsville has just regained its 3-goal cushion with that last goal coming off the stick of Trevor Gerling on the wraparound, fouling an offensive zone faceoff. Sean Reynolds jostles for it behind the Huntsville cage. Larry Smith couldn't hold the puck at the line. And Nick Minerva covers a lot of ice for him to retake possession of the puck. Smith will try to work it up to Seth Ronsberg. He bats at it. Ronsberg kicks it too far into his path. Kyle Sharkey takes it away. Sharkey sends it behind the Macon cage. Smith with the outlet up to Sean Reynolds on the left side. Tallene kicks it back to Ronsberg, who takes it away, forces the issue, and drops it back to the trailer, Alexander Tallene. Wasn't in his wheelhouse as a turnaround blast by Ronsberg whistles wide of the blocker side post of Max Milasek. It's sent behind the net now by Sean Reynolds. The net nearly came off its pegs. Calabrese bumped into it. And Kristaps Bazovic's really trying to make something happen offensively. He's all the way behind the opposing goal line, the defenseman. Zach Urban receives the pass from Jake Trask. Bazovic gets it now left point. He's under lots of pressure, had no choice but to turn the puck over. Here comes Sharkey down his off wing with Salked breaking to the net. Sharkey delays, centers it, hoping for Salked. Loose puck in the crease, whacked out behind the net and cleared up to the right half wall. John Seymour will motor down the right wing side as he is stymied by Peter Sakalis. And Jake Trask now pinned up to the half wall. Urban sends it below the goal line, and Caleb Cameron trying to escape with possession. He's got it now in the left circle. We'll work it up to the point. Bazovic taps it below the net. Trask allows it to go past him. Cameron on the near half boards is dispossessed of it by Stephen Rahoriak, who will skate it out to center. Peter Sakalis was the intended target of his pass. It was outside of his reach. Trask will feather one ahead, hoping to get it to John Seymour eventually, but Derek Pearl beat him to it. Seymour beats him to possession of the puck eventually after outworking him as he did on Trask's second goal tonight, but eventually he was swarmed by dark sweaters and the Havoc will skate it out. Derek Pearl backhands the puck into the far corner of the ice. Jarrett Cupp fighting for possession. Outer hash marks of the right circle. It's whacked at by Colton Wolter, and Derek Sutliff gloves it down and will send Dakota Kletcha the pass. Sutliff assisted on Kletcha's first goal since returning from injury last night against the Thunderbolts. Kletcha's 10th goal of the season and Sutliff's 10th assist. Here comes Rahoriak on a 2-on-1. Rahoriak's joined by Nukovic, lost possession of the puck. Nukovic picks it up side of the net, can't tuck it in past Creel, who sprawls on the rebound and makes the save. Stephen Rahoriak with lots of speed. He's had the ex-Pensacola Ice Flyer. He's had a few 2-on-1 rushes so far in this game. We're just 3 seconds away from the halfway point of regulation. Huntsville now with a 5-2 advantage over the Mayhem here at Von Braun Arena. Again, folks, we hope to have you out on college night next Thursday night as the Mayhem host the Birmingham Bulls, our last college night, last Thursday night home game of the regular season. Alec Brandrup skates it down the left half boards, tries to tuck it in. Backhand shot stopped by Creel, who makes a second save on Colton Wolter, and we'll take a whistle. And there you have it. The horn sounds, and we're going to head to our second media timeout of period 2. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by New Line and on YouTube. We'll be back in a moment, folks.
Need to raise some money for your organization? Contact the Mayhem front office and we'll be happy to partner up with your group to help you fundraise for a cause. You buy tickets from us at $10, you sell them for $15, and then you keep the remaining $5 per ticket sold for whatever cause you like. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to set up a fundraiser for your organization today.
While we've got a second here, I'd like to give a shout out to special guest tuned in on the broadcast tonight, Ian Silvas' grandfather, David, in Spencer, New York, near Ithaca, who watches every game on SPHL Live. Thank you, Mr. Silvas, for tuning in. Appreciate your support and your patronage. And to Tom Silvas tuned in as well, we appreciate your support as well. Anyone else who would like a shout out at any point throughout our game, you can comment in the comment section on YouTube in the chat, or you can send at Macon Mayhem a tweet. We'll be sure to give you a shout out before this game comes to an end. Sean Reynolds bats down a floating puck near the slot and sends it behind his net. Nick Minerva will jam it up towards Ronsberg, picked out by Wolter. Tried to step out in front, couldn't really muster a shot there. Reynolds now will skate it down his off wing, joined by Kletcha on his right. Reynolds tries to pass it to himself. And Calabrese will take it now in the far corner and send one up ice for the storming Scott Trask over the blue line, who rifles it off the backboard stanchions. And Nick Minerva, or rather Zach Urban, is able to jam one up the boards, kept in the zone. Nolan Kaiser above the left circle. Centers one through the circles as it bounces off the far corner boards, and taking it all the way in behind the net now is Anthony Calabrese, who will feed it up to Kaiser. Into the high slot now to Calabrese above the left circle, who is stumped by Ronsberg. Ronsberg's got a twist with it, and he will spirit one up the board. Zach Urban will lead the rush down the right side. Urban from the right circle with a tough angle shot. Denied by Max Milasek, who didn't give him much room to work with there. Zach Urban coming oh so close last night to scoring his first goal of the season. He had a 2-on-1 rush opportunity fresh out of the penalty box. He joined in on the rush and nearly had a tap-in goal, and it just whistled wide of the right post. Painfully close call for Zach Urban, the Mayhem's longest tenured defenseman, the Calgary native. John Seymour will take an offensive zone face-off to the left side of Max Milasek. Kyle Sharkey flips it out to the red line. Bazovic's twisting it up to Caleb Cameron in front of the player benches. Zach Urban is met on the forecheck by Kyle Sharkey. Puck slides out in front of the blue crease there, the blue paint, and there's going to be a penalty called against Zach Urban for a hit from behind. He got a little bit too physical there in the corner with Kyle Sharkey, and Zach Urban, or perhaps Kristaps Bazovic will skate to the box. It will be Bazovic. So Huntsville, last time they went onto the power play, did not take them long at all to score. There's a Peter Sakalis right after an offensive zone face-off win. Scored the goal just 4 seconds after the puck dropped. The Mayhem hoping they can fight this one off for a little bit longer, as Minerva picks it up from the corner on the near side and sends it all the way down. So at the very least, the Mayhem have survived longer than they did on the first penalty kill. This Mayhem penalty kill is brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning. Boarding was the call against Kristaps Bazovic on the hit delivered on Kyle Sharkey. And Larry Smith will leave it for Urban, who twists and clears it all the way down. Milasek will not touch it. And he will just allow Anthony Calabrese to take over. Calabrese sends it back to Nolan Kaiser. His pass is intercepted by Caleb Cameron, who's joined on the rush, shorthanded by Vinny Caligiuri, and Cameron's shot didn't have much on it. Milasek was able to make the glove save. Cameron gets his hand up around Nolan Kaiser's face. The 210s in an entanglement right now. I don't think Cameron liked the way that Vinny Caligiuri was sort of looked like Kaiser was sort of bullying Caligiuri there after the whistle, and Cameron took exception to it. Huntsville on the power play this season, ranking third best in the SPHL with a 20.4% conversion rate, countered by Macon's 79.8% conversion rate on the penalty kill. They will get an offensive zone face-off, will the visiting Mayhem. Caleb Cameron to take the draw. He's had to adjust his game since the injury to Jimmy Soper. He's had to take on more of a universal role with the team and step away from his traditional scoring role at left wing and take on a more of a defensive and physical role at center as Huntsville is caught on an offside. By the way, folks, Jimmy Soper, in case you were wondering, will be cleared from waivers on Monday, which is huge. Not cleared from waivers, off the IR, I should have said, on Monday. Cleared to play on Monday is what I meant to say, which is great news for the Mayhem because he was somebody who was brought on board from the Newfoundland Growlers pretty early into the season after having played a couple of games in the ECHL, made an enormous impact right away, and the Mayhem have certainly missed his presence up the middle. The Mayhem hopeful he will be back in action next weekend for the 3-game homestand the Mayhem have against Birmingham and Fayetteville. Kyle Sharkey takes over behind the Macon cage. He will angle it off the half boards on the far side. Peter Sakalis keeping it in the zone. Defended by the watchful eye of Zach Urban. And it's cycled to the left point for a one-time blast by Salkad that's blocked and cleared. Excellent shot block by Vinny Caligiuri, who's sort of served as a 10th forward type of player tonight, but he's logged. He's had a few impressive shifts on the penalty kill so far as Kletch's slap shot is denied by Max Milasek. It's carried back across the blue line. Sharkey from the left circle shoots and scores. Another power play goal for Huntsville. They've just improved to 2 for 2 on the night on the man advantage, and they've taken a 6-2 lead. Kyle Sharkey, the SPHL All-Star nominee with his 11th goal on the campaign. In his 3rd season with the Havoc, won the President's Cup last season. Has been having a pretty strong year. Ranks 3rd on the Havoc in scoring this season behind only Ryan Salkad and Cy Nukovic. Given the Havoc some more insurance. It's now 6-2 in favor of Huntsville. Identical score line to what the Mayhem had over Evansville last night, but they were on the other side. So Taylor Love is checked in the corner by Piacentini, who stole the puck from him, rather Christian Powers, who's actually had a quiet night and has scored 3 goals in as many games against the Mayhem this season. Justin Levesque in across the blue line. Knocks the stick out of the hands of Cy Nukovic. It's given back to Taylor Love in his own end. Love for Jarrett Cup. The Curry College product will send Dakota Kletcha the pass. He is offside and the whistle blows. And the linesman Michael Ciasliga making the call. 5:54 to go in the second. 6-2 your score in favor of Huntsville. Anyone tuned in out there who might be interested in doing a fundraiser through the Macon Mayhem, we offer an incredible fundraising package. We send you a voucher. You print off as many of them as you can sell. You sell them for $15 a piece. You buy the tickets from us for $10, and you keep the remaining $5 from each voucher sold for whatever cause you like. For information, call the Mayhem front office at 478-803-1592. Peter Sakalis rims it around the Macon end wall. Puck is picked off by Tyler Piacentini, the smallest player on the ice tonight, standing at just 5'6", 167 pounds. And now Caleb Cameron will motor down the left wing side and from the red line slides it into Huntsville territory. Peter Sakalis for Cy Nukovic. Turns away from Cameron. And it bounces off the stick of Piacentini. Larry Smith is back to get it. He will send it back into Huntsville territory. Milasek halting possession behind his own net. There will be our third and final media timeout of the second period the next time the whistle blows. Peter Sakalis stepping in down the left wing side, sends it at the net, redirected well wide by Cy Nukovic. Kyle Sharkey, who scored the most recent goal for Huntsville, has got it in the far corner. Nick Minerva steps in there with Larry Smith and Seth Ronsberg in an attempt to move the puck. The 5-man scrum going on in the far corner. It rolls past Sharkey. Minerva gets his blade in there and is pickpocketed by Sharkey. Opportunity for Huntsville. Point blank chance for Condon, who delays, pulls the trigger. Creel excellently moved over to make the save, changed his angle up at the last moment, and the net came off. It's pegs, so we get a whistle and a stoppage of play. Not sure what caused the net to come off. And we're going to head to our third and final media timeout of this second period. 6-2 your score in favor of Huntsville. They've had contributions from all over their lineup tonight, folks. Goals from Condon, Sakalis, Nukovic, Gerling, and Sharkey. Macon's lone goals coming from the same player, Jake Trask. The Mayhem have a mountain to climb here in the remainder of period 2 and into period 3. We're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, folks, welcome back. And while we've got a spare second here, let's take a look at an impromptu out-of-town scoreboard update presented by Marriott Hotels. 8 teams playing tonight. Only 2 are off in Fayetteville and Pensacola. Evansville still leading 1-0 late in period 2 against Quad City. Peoria doubling up their lead from the last time we checked. They lead 4-0 over the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs up in central Illinois. And Birmingham still with a 1-0 advantage over the Knoxville Ice Bears. About 100 miles south of here. Kyle Sharkey centers it. Salked is stymied by Taylor Love. Sharkey wheels up to the point and feeds it to the left point for Pat Condon. Slap shot, just missed the right post, not by much. Right point, Calabrese turns it towards the net. It's taken by Sharkey, or Salked for Sharkey. Up to the point with the pass. Goes off the stick of Calabrese, who retreats out to the defensive half of the neutral zone. Justin Levesque trying to spin one to Sutliff. It never reached him. And now it's Pat Condon. Back to the point. Long shot from Scott Trask is blocked by Derek Sutliff. And now here comes Kletch on the counterattack with a wrist shot. Routinely stopped by Milasek. And there was some contact between Kletcha and Milasek. Not enough to really prompt much of a retaliation on Huntsville's behalf. I think Kletcha might have been shoved a little bit. And for the most part avoided doing too much damage. 3:36 to play in the second period. Huntsville with a 6-2 lead. John Seamer, who's had a tremendous month of February so far, 6 points in 7 games, taking the offensive zone faceoff, collecting the puck in the corner and sending it at the net, stopped by Milasek. He will get another chance here. Will the Mayhem's alternate captain. He will feed Trask, left circle, his shot blocked. It bounces right to Urban, who whacks it towards the net. It's broken up and flung out to the blue line in the Mayhem zone. Played back out to center to the red line by Bazovic, turned towards the zone by Walter, and John Seamer racing back up into the Huntsville zone with a full head of steam as he's worked up into the far corner by Derek Pearl. A turnaround shot by Trask is denied from in tight by Max Milasek. DDD pass to Urban above the right circle with a slap shot. Redirected wide of the net. And Urban steps in down the right half boards to try to make something happen. Kyle Sharkey pins himself to the half wall. And we've got a penalty. Huntsville will be going to the penalty box. An elbow will be the call against the Havoc. And the Mayhem will get another chance in the power play here. The Mayhem have not had a power play opportunity since the 10th minute of play. Peter Sakalis skating to the sin bin. And he will be the one guilty of icing. This Mayhem power play will be brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. It's 0 for 1 so far tonight on the season, ranking 9th in the SPHL. Coming into this game with a 14.6% success rate. Justin Levesque to take the face-off against Cy Nukovic. And CS Liga with a premature puck drop. They're going to have a do-over here and try this again. Levesque's been an excellent face-off man for the Mayhem this season, but he couldn't get the job done this time against Nukovic. A 5-player battle favoring the Mayhem. They win the puck scrap. Levesque turns the corner and shoots. It's stopped by Milasek. 2:36 to go in the second. 6-2 Huntsville. So the Mayhem and the Havoc have a long, historic rivalry that really hasn't been done much justice this season. The teams have only met 3 times before tonight, but that's about to change. The Mayhem and the Havoc will have a rematch tomorrow regardless of the outcome tonight, and then on Military Appreciation Weekend for the Mayhem on March 15th and 16th, they will meet again, but that time will be at the Macon Centreplex. As Max Milasek with a bit of a dangerous clear over lots of jumping Macon gloves, but he managed to get it just over all of them as Tyler Piacentini wheels to the outside. The perimeter, nice pass over into the slot. It bounces on Creel's net. Crisis averted. Good back check by Justin Levesque to prevent near disaster. As Huntsville with a pretty good opportunity shorthanded just moments ago. They've already got 34 shots on net. Tanner Creel stopped 28 of them. Kristaps Bazovic on the breakout out of his own zone. He will skate it right up the middle of the ice, gains the blue line, and will feed it over off the left half boards at Kareem's. Derek Sutliff dropping it down towards Tallene, but it never quite reached him. The Havoc have just cleared it out to the red line again. Bazovic for John Seamer. Right back to Kristaps, who head fakes right, eventually passes it to Seamer. It bounces off a stick right to him, and Condon will just swat it harmlessly into a vacated area. Tallene will get back on it. On the perimeter, Alexander Tallene delivers it to the goal line. Seth Ronsberg switches places with him and steps into the circle and fires. And a blocker save is made by Max Milasek. Now Seamer twists it back to Bazovic. Out of Sutliff. Sends it across the slot. Turning and clearing Salkad. Kept in the zone, however, left point by Sutliff. Derek Sutliff surveys his options. Put it in front for Tallene, who redirects it into the net. And the Mayhem have scored their 3rd goal on the night. Their first on the power play this evening. Alexander Tallene with his 10th goal of the season, reaching double digits and joining only 3 other players in the Mayhem who have scored 10 times this season. Alexander Tallene with a power play goal to give the Mayhem a little bit of life here late in period 2. It's now 6-3 Havoc with 1:02 to play in the second. Tallene now ranks first in the SPHL in penalty minutes with 107, and he's trying to prove tonight that he can do a lot more than just take penalties. He's got 10 goals on the season, which, as we just said, not a lot of players in the Mayhem this season have managed to do just yet. And Caleb Cameron sends it around the half wall. It bounces off the stick of Reynolds. It's flung back in, and Minerva wastes no time sending it down the length. 25 seconds remain in the second period. Milasek with a long saucer pass that reaches Christian Powers. 2nd in the SPHL last season in goals with 28. Minerva steals the puck back, and Larry Smith will feed Caligiuri the long breakout pass. Seamer storming right up the middle. He was surrounded by black sweaters on all sides. That'll just about wrap things up for period 2. Oh, and Vinny Caligiuri lost his helmet and one of his gloves. It's like a yard sale. All the equipment's coming off, and Caligiuri taking a pounding now. Pretty close to the Mayhem bench in the far half boards. Caligiuri found himself in a pretty good, healthy scrap with Peter Sakalis, who scored 2 goals tonight. And Caligiuri will just waste no time going down the tunnel. Some of his teammates collecting his equipment. And we'll see what discipline Jason Lordy decides to hand down to Vinny Caligiuri and to Peter Sakalis after that. Not sure what prompted it, folks. I just looked over to the right. I heard the crowd starting to get excited. I looked over to my right and just saw a couple of fisticuffs being thrown, mostly on the part of Sakalis. I couldn't really tell if Caligiuri wanted to fight. Based on the looks of it, it didn't seem that way, but he was just, he was absorbing one punch after another. And I think Jake Trask right now is having a discussion with Jason Lordy, telling him, look, that was completely on Sakalis' end. I don't think Caligiuri wanted to have anything to do with it. If that's the case, it should be a major power play for Macon, but I don't think that's the way it's going to play out. As Caligiuri certainly did retaliate at least a little bit. But a little bit of life generated by the goal scored by Alexander Tallien late in the period. With just 1 minute and 2 seconds left, striking on the power play, giving the Mayhem a 1-for-2 night on the Wild Wing Cafe power play. They certainly needed that one, but will it be enough to propel the Mayhem to what they will really need to be, a heroic third period to salvage a couple of points out of this game? We saw how quickly the tide could turn. At the end of period one, Jake Trask scored a pair of goals within 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And if they can get anything like that going in period three, then the Havoc will have their work cut out for them trying to slow Macon down. We talked about it earlier, how much better of a team the Mayhem have been in third periods this season. The only team that's had a better goal differential in period three than the Mayhem have been the Peoria Rivermen. This season, the Mayhem have scored 48 goals in period three. That's 10 more than either period one or two. Unquestionably has been their strongest period. They've allowed 34, so a goal differential of plus 14 in period three this season. So without a doubt has been their strongest 20 minutes, but nevertheless, they face a pretty daunting challenge, erasing a 3-goal deficit against the defending champs in their building. Outshooting the opposition has also been, had a very positive correlation to Mayhem wins this season. When they outshoot their opponents, it doesn't really take a genius to figure this one out, but the Mayhem, a substantially stronger team when they outshoot their opponents than they are when they are outshot. And last night's win, sort of a case in point. It was the first time the Mayhem had outshot an opponent in 8 games. They outshot Evansville, they beat them. The 8 games prior to that, they were outshot and they were beaten. This season, when outshooting their opposition, the Mayhem are 15-5. When they're outshot, they are 7-9-5. Shots on goal, and lots of them, will be needed in period three for the Mayhem to erase or at least chip away piece by piece at this 3-goal deficit they now face. So again, thanks so much for joining us, everyone, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Alex Von Courta, the voice of your Mayhem, bringing you live coverage of the Mayhem from the road this season for the first time. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast up till this point on SPHL Live and on YouTube. The Mayhem hoping to salvage a couple of points out of this one after a slow start early in period one, falling behind 3-0 in the first 16 minutes, battling their way back into contention, but they still do trail by 3. So we're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network, folks. In case you missed it yesterday, because we did have some small technical difficulties and audio issues, we're going to replay the Mayhem interview on Monday morning at the Creek, as well as the Jimmy Soper interview that we played during the first intermission last night. That and more coming your way in a few moments, folks. Keep it right here. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. After these interviews with the Creek and with Jimmy Soper, we'll look around the SPHL and get you ready for third period action here at Von Braun Center. Keep it right here, folks. All right, welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by New Line, and on YouTube for this Thursday night contest, the Mayhem hosting the Evansville Thunderbolts for the first time this season. And I had the pleasure of being joined by Mayhem forward Jimmy Soper. Jimmy, first off, I really appreciate your time and thanks for being here.
Happy to do this. Thanks for having me.
So, Jimmy, talk about the recovery process that you've gone through since sustaining that injury, and what's been the biggest thing that you've had to keep in mind throughout the stages of it?
I think the biggest stage is just being patient with it, not rushing back too quick. Definitely getting closer here and, looking to get back out there on the ice.
Yeah, well, we certainly miss you, and you said you're getting closer here. Are you able to give us sort of a timetable? Has anyone given you a timetable or an ETA of when you might be able to make your return here?
I know that I'm off the IR come Monday, but after that I'm not sure. I haven't started skating yet, so it's kind of a day by day after next week.
In your absence, because you've played a pretty specific role, I think, for the Mayhem. You were a really dependable 200-foot player, good center, good strong presence up the middle, and you certainly love to hit. Have there been any players that have stood out to you over the past month or so in the time that you've been out who have really stepped up in your absence and sort of filled the role for you that you once had?
Well, I think with all the injuries that we've had over the last month and a half, that almost everyone up front's really stepped up and filled some roles. I know losing Trasker and Levac, two top scorers on our team, definitely big shoes to fill. And then me as another center, I think the guys have done a great job, hanging in there. Haven't got much puck luck lately, but everyone's done a great job filling in there.
Yeah, certainly the puck luck has not been on the Mayhem side anywhere in the past 8 games. It seems like those little bounces just haven't been going their way, and that's been evident in their overtime and shootout records. In those close games, the Mayhem have just not come out on top. They're 0-5 in games that go longer than 60 minutes this season. But what have been some of the other things you've seen, because you've sort of been able to take a step back and really get some perspective and watch these games and probably see a lot more watching than you do when you're a part of it and right in the middle of all of it?
Yeah, you definitely see a lot more when you're watching, and it's definitely tougher to make the play from up top, because you can see the play that's going to happen. We're on the ice, you got to read and react in the moment. But I think we got to simplify our game. Just get pucks in, outwork the other team. I know we haven't outshot a team in a while. I mean that we got to get more pucks to the net and just play our game, simplify it.
Right, the Mayhem, that is true. They've not managed to outshot anyone in a really long time, and when they do outshoot their opposition, the Mayhem are 16-5 this season. So that's why one of the keys of tonight's game is getting more shots on net. As last Saturday, the Mayhem pitched a franchise low of just 15 against the Peoria Rivermen, at least 15 that were recorded. I want to shift gears a little bit here for you, Jimmy. I want to talk a little bit more about your personal upbringing and how you ended up in Macon. You're a Canadian boy from Waterloo, Ontario. You played Canadian junior hockey, major junior hockey in the OHL, and then started this season up in Newfoundland. What was it that really sort of propelled your decision to come back to Macon? I know you spent a little bit of time here last season, but what was it that was appealing to you about coming to Macon and playing for Coach Thomas?
I had great experience here last year when I was here, and I had all intentions to come back here this year. I had spoken to Coach a few times before I had come back, and I love the city, love the fans, love the atmosphere, great group of guys, and I'm happy to be a part of the Mayhem.
Now, is this the southernmost, warmest place you've ever lived in, and what have been some of the things that you maybe are able to do that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise back in Canada that you enjoy about Macon?
Yes, this is definitely the most warm spot I've ever been in the winter, for sure. You get to golf, which you can't do at home right now, but the part I guess I miss is there's no pond hockey here as well, so it's kind of a happy medium there, yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation, it looks like we might have some pond hockey tonight. It rained just about every day this week. It's pretty humid in Macon right now, and there's an issue with the compressors here, so it's pretty warm and foggy, and the ice melting a little bit. So hopefully the guys keep it a little bit simpler tonight. Obviously, the ice is never perfect, and tonight might be even more difficult to play a full 60 minutes. And that sort of leads me to my next and final question for you, Jimmy. I'm planning on asking Coach Thomas this as
no pray on it. And, well, it's just, okay, well, we'll just, pray on it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There it is. Okay,
Gotta
boom.
pray over our
100.9 The Creek.
computer.
Creekside
There we go. Look at
Mornings.
that. It's recording.
Charles Davis, Tony Dillon here. It is now time for some of our favorite people in the building, the Macon Mayhem. Alex Von Coydel, the voice
Alex Von Coydel.
of the Macon Mayhem. And he brought along one of your favorite players, Tony. Talk about it.
Yeah, actually, I've been looking forward to having you in the studio, Nick. I got to tell you straight up, last few months, I've really enjoyed watching you play.
Thank you.
Nick
I appreciate
Minerva
it.
from the Macon Mayhem, and I got your name right.
Yeah, correct.
I was wondering if it was Minerva, wasn't
Minerva,
sure, but I
now.
had it right. I had it right. Tell us about yourself, Nick. Where are you from?
I'm from Monroe, New Jersey, central New Jersey, about 45 minutes from New York City, about an hour from Philadelphia, so pretty much dead smack in the middle. Born and raised.
There you go. And if I had to venture a guess, you started skating somewhere around the age of 3 or 4?
5.
Five. Oh, you were a late.
Close enough,
You were a late
but-
bloomer, man.
Yeah, I was. I was.
Tell us about your hockey career.
I started roller hockey at 5. I started playing ice hockey at 6. From there,
Because wheels were no longer, you weren't cool with that anymore. It's like, no, I want skates for real. Now
yeah,
get on the ice.
exactly. The wheels didn't do it all. Fell in love with ice hockey itself. Played roller hockey till I was about 13, 14, pretty competitively. Kind of teetered off from there, and from there on, I've been playing hockey since, ice hockey since.
Excellent.
Since ice hockey.
How long have you been playing for the Mayhem?
Just this is my first year.
First year. Where'd you play before this?
I played D3 for a year.
Okay. How old are you?
22.
Young
23
guy.
now. 23 now. My birthday was a couple days ago.
All right, now,
Oh,
happy birthday,
wow.
bro. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Would you like Charles to sing to you?
I'm not going to do that for you. Nick. Love you, but I ain't going to sing to you.
He's our
I
youngest
appreciate
guy.
it.
He's our youngest player.
Youngest player on the team. Man, I got to tell you, you are. It's really enjoyable to watch you play the game.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Appreciate
straight
it.
up. Ashley and I were sitting there the last few games watching, and I was like, man, every time he gets on the ice, it's just he's poetry in motion on the ice.
Wow.
man.
Wow.
To start on
That is-
wheels.
I'll take it.
To start on wheels, man.
I'll take it.
Whoa.
You end up on ice. No, he's a great player, man.
For him to put poetry in motion,
That's a strong.
That is-
It's
for
a
him?
strong statement.
Yeah,
Nick.
for sure.
look
really
at
is
the
a
look on
strong
Alex's face. It's like, what the hell am I on?
You don't talk this way about any of my other
Exactly.
guests.
No, thank you. He talk.
I'll
I know him
take
for
it.
years, and he'll talk about me. Like,
You don't ice skate.
I don't.
You don't
Can't
ice
do it.
skate.
I can't.
Alex, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm pretty good. Thanks.
Thank you. After that glowing response to Nick, everything else you said to us is chopped liver.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm mildly excited you're here.
Moderately happy to be here.
I'm gonna talk to Nick some more if you'd like to give me some coffee, man.
No, we're gonna talk to Alex. Okay.
Let's talk about this week's games. You guys have 3 games this week.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
You
we're
picked up a Thursday night game here at home. Centerplex 7:35 puck drop.
College
It's college night.
yeah.
$8 with a student ID.
Not bad.
And then $10 regular tickets for everybody else, right?
$10 regular tickets and then $10 for college groups, which includes free hats and experience upgrade.
Oh, very nice.
Great deal. Yeah. Like we said last time, Wesleyan, Mercer, GCTC. We're talking to you
All the
right now.
colleges.
DeVry, Phoenix
Australia,
Online.
Phoenix Online,
As
Virginia
long as you
College.
got an ID, you're in for $8.
I mean, come on here.
Those people do get IDs.
They do.
They do. So taking on the, we're taking on the
Evansville.
Evansville Thunderbolts.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I keep wanting to call them the Evansville Thundercats, but that's wrong.
That's wrong.
It is the Thunderbolts.
We don't get the chance to play those teams from the Midwest very often.
Yeah.
We just went up there for our first time this season, up to Quad City on Friday and Peoria on Saturday. It was a long haul. They actually just got back from the trip last night at like 8
Wow.
p.m. I felt bad asking Nick to come on this morning,
But you,
he was
but you
really
arrived, man.
Yeah,
We
that's all
appreciate
right.
that.
No
Yeah,
worries.
yeah.
We
Lack of sleep
appreciate
and
that
everything. No,
dedication.
appreciate that, bro.
Give me the Friday and Saturday rundown.
So we're actually heading out to Huntsville
Okay.
to take on the Havoc, who actually just passed us in the standings. So we're looking to take some of those points back.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be nice.
So we've played pretty well against them this year. We're 2-1, and our only loss against them came in their building, and it was a hard-fought game. We lost 5-4, back and forth battle. So we're looking forward to going back out there and getting some comeuppance against them. And then, but we don't want to overlook Thursday night. I mean, Evansville, yeah, they've struggled this year, but they've been turning their season around a little bit. They've had a few wins recently against some pretty decent opponents. They just beat Roanoke on the road, so we don't want to take them for granted, and we're hoping to snap this little skid that we're on Thursday.
Where are we on the injury standpoint?
So this past weekend we got a couple of big pieces back. Jake Trask came back, Justin Levesque came back.
Yep.
They both got an assist on Friday night, so we were really happy to have them back. And then Larry Smith, Nick, I don't know if you can really talk about your fellow D partner, how he's doing.
Yeah,
in recovery.
he's considering his lower body injury, he tried to give it a go this weekend, but it looks like timetable's next weekend instead. So.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're dealing with that kind of an injury.
Especially down the road.
I was going to say, getting close to playoff time, having these injuries come back, having these players come back from injury, does it feel like it's going to be a nice boost for you guys to have everybody back and being healthy going into playoff time?
Oh, 100%, because it just brings us back to kind of like an original roster we started with, and that's kind of the guys we kind of went with from the beginning, so why not end with them?
Yeah.
A couple of forwards that moved up to the ECHL. We almost got both of them back, but they sort of got picked up last minute, claimed off waivers. So Stathis Sumulidis and Sam Wilbur, we thought we might get them back, but a couple of teams, one in North Dakota and then one in Virginia, kind of swooped in last second and picked them up.
We don't like North Dakota.
And I mean, let's talk about the reality of this, including Thursday. 7 home games left in the regular season.
Yeah.
That's incredibly saddening. It's gonna make me sad. Y'all need to play all year.
What? Tony, they can't do that. They got Tony. That's
No,
rough.
they can do it.
Playing hockey is rough, Tony. You can't be beating up on yourself all year.
7 home games. We have this Thursday. We have next Thursday. Again, we pick up that weird. We were saying off the air when you look at this week and next week, 2 Thursday games. Kind of let you know, could have been more home games in the latter half of the season. For the Mayhem.
Yeah,
but sometimes it works that way.
Right. Second half of the year, we historically have always done better with attendance and getting buzz and stuff. But it's just the way it happened. We had a top-heavy start to the year. A lot of home games in the first half.
Yeah, but Pucks and Paws is coming up soon, which is
one.
always a huge night.
Oh yeah.
I got to ask this question because in between periods, first and second period, you do the wiener dog race on the ice. And I know that there's a limited amount of time between first and second period, and you got to do that. You got to get the Zamboni running. Do you have a pooper scooper out there? Has it ever happened on the ice?
Gosh, I would think so.
You would think it would have to.
There were, probably 70 dogs?
There were a lot of dogs
last
year.
time. I would think that at least one of them would, do its business.
Get a little scared and have to,
I nominate Austin, that little kid who always skates. He can be the pooper
Why are
scooper.
we putting it on the kid?
Because Austin is the only one responsible enough to do it, Charles.
He just wants to revel in the glory. He doesn't want to do a low league.
That's what I'm saying, but you can't make that man do that.
All right, so Thursday night, 7:35, the Macon Mayhem will be at the Centreplex taking on Evansville in a game next Thursday night. Anthony will be your in-game host for this Thursday night's game.
Next Thursday's college night as well, so same deals apply.
And tomorrow night, the Coach Leo Thomas Coaches Show downstairs, Creek Stage at the Rookery, 6:30. Get there early.
Get there early, people. Get your
Just
seat.
some snacks and a drink.
Yeah. Meet Alex Von Coydle, the Coach Leo Thomas, and some players.
Kind of debating who you're going to bring tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm probably going to go with the goalies. I haven't told them that yet.
Oh, okay.
So.
Goalie.
Now, hold on, Nick. I've heard rumors that goalies, number one, have the weirdest pregame rituals.
Oh, they're just the weirdest people in general.
Okay, I wasn't going to say that, but that was what I was getting at.
Yeah,
so thank
I
you
know.
for saying that
No-
for me.
no problem.
So it could get weird up in the Rookery tomorrow night down at the Creek Stage.
Well,
with
it all
the goalies.
Very well be.
Well, Nick, thanks for coming in this morning. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Got in late last night and still made it.
No
Alex,
worries.
reasonably good to see you.
Likewise.
We gotta get Nick a shirt, a couple shirts, so we'll get it.
We got you hooked up, man.
Oh, no problem.
We got you hooked
Thank
up.
you. Appreciate it.
All right, here's some Paul Thorne. I don't like half the folks I love on the Creek.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. Apologize for that brief delay, but we're back to bring you third period action here at Von Braun Center. The Mayhem trailing 6-3 with a lot of work to do in this third period. 20 minutes left. They have scored 3 goals or more in a span that small before, but they're facing a lot of adversity this evening. Max Milisek's had a pretty strong night in net. 25 of a possible 28 saves. The Mayhem going up against the crowd tonight and going up against their legs. Some tired bodies out there after playing yesterday against Evansville and traveling here and playing the day of the game. So we're back underway for period 3. And what's interesting here, folks, is that Vinny Caligiuri is in the penalty box for 2 minutes. So even though I thought he was the victim on that last play, looks like the Mayhem are the ones who are shorthanded. So Huntsville 2 for 2 on the power play, going right to the man advantage to start period 3. This Mayhem penalty kill is brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning. And John Seymour tries to make something happen, cycling behind the net, centering for Cameron, who redirects it on net, stopped by Milisek. Good shorthanded opportunity for Caleb Cameron as Trevor Gerling skates it back down the other way. His shot attempt is denied by Tanner Creel. And now Jarrett Cupp is harassed by John Schiavo. And it's sent up to the blue line, kept in the zone there, and spun back to the left point by Nolan Kaiser. Sharkey side of the net pass. Up to the top again. Kaiser's got it. He will feed Condon over to Chiavo, who shoots it, missed it wide of the left post. And now Condon recovers the puck. He's harassed by Cameron. Quick snapshot by Powers is denied by Creel. Powers had a clean look at Creel from the inner hash mark to the right circle. And the Birmingham, Alabama native able to hold his ground and make the stop. Mayhem trailing by 3 with 18:52 remaining in the third period. Caligiuri in the box for the next 53 seconds. Justin Levesque winning the defensive zone draw. So Caligiuri was given 2 roughing minors, whereas Sakalis was only given 1. So they're actually both in the penalty box, and Caligiuri will be in there for 4 minutes. And Alexander Tallien will hop on the ice once the next 32 seconds expire. There's going to be another penalty here called against Macon for a hit from behind, or a board, that took place right behind Tanner Creel's net inside of the trapezoid. And for 29 seconds, the Havoc will be going to a 5-on-3. And staying disciplined was the top key of the game tonight, and it appears as though it's actually it's going to be Anthony Calabrese skating to the box, so it'll actually neutralize the power play. It won't build upon it. Calabrese to the box for the board, and we'll go to the 4-on-4 for the next 29 seconds, after which the Mayhem will get a power play. So there was clearly some confusion there because Max Milasek started skating to the Huntsville bench when it was his team on the delayed penalty. So the Mayhem could have scored an empty net goal there had they known what was happening. So Cameron with an offensive zone face-off win, but Condon was first to the loose puck, and he will send Christian Powers the pass. Powers' shot whistles wide to the far side post, and it's kept in the zone, and taking it behind the net is Derek Pearl, who wheels around the perimeter and will dish it off to Kyle Sharkey, or rather to Christian Powers on the left. Now a point shot by Condon. Rockets wide of the net. Derek Pearl switches places with Cy Nukovic and sends a pass around the boards for him. Nukovic concedes possession to Kristaps Bazovic, who will spirit a pass up the middle for Alexander Tallien, fresh out of the penalty box. He attempts the dangle on Nolan Kaiser, carries behind the goal, and Tallien feeds the pass now to Zach Urban. The Mayhem are on the power play now, but they don't seem to know it because they've only got 4 skaters out there. Finally, they send a 5th one out. The Mayhem were playing 4-on-4 when they should have been at 5-on-4 for a good 20 seconds or so before someone on the bench finally realized it and sent Jarrett Cupp out there. So there have been a few miscommunications tonight on the Mayhem bench, folks. That much has been obvious. They were caught on a delay. They were caught on a too many men on the ice penalty, a bench minor, which is sort of an inexcusable penalty that led to a power play goal against, and they were just playing even strength when they should have been at on the power play for a good 15-20 seconds. We're 2.5 minutes into the third period, Macon trailing 6-3. It's a long trickler of a shot by Cy Nukovic is denied by Tanner Creel, and Jarrett Cupp's got it behind his own net. Cupp slicing through center. He backhands a pass well outside of the reach of Alexander Tallien. John Seymour battling hard behind the net, gets the pass from Tallien, feeds it to Ronsberg. Too hot for him to handle. Piacentini has cleared it. Derek Sutliff is after it. The College of St. Scholastica grad. Leaving it for Jarrett Cupp. Tanner Creel steps out from in behind his own net to play it aside for Cupp. He is flushed out from behind his own goal and will feed Derek Sutliff the pass on the rush. Sutliff is over the blue line onside. He will feed the trailer. Levesque with a touch pass too far ahead of Ronsberg. He will spin it back down to Sutliff, who leaves it for Levesque in the far corner. Tallien and Ronsberg both in front of the net. The puck deflects into the corner. Ronsberg is there. Out of the box is Calabrese. Sutliff gets it from Ronsberg and returns it to him. The Mayhem now dropping to 1 for 3 on the Wild Wing Cafe power play tonight, improving to 1 for 3 on the J&J's heating and air conditioning penalty kill. And Scott Trask will motor in down the right side. He slams on the brakes with Nick Minerva defending him. Puck flutters off the OT Sports dasher board near the Mayhem bench. Calabrese. A saucer pass up to Nolan Kaiser. The first time, or the only time Huntsville traveled to Macon this season, Kaiser was serving a one-game suspension, did not play, and then the next night in Huntsville, and at the tail end of the home-and-home series, Kaiser had an outstanding game. Larry Smith jamming one up to Dakota Kletcha. Had a pair of goals last night. Smith's pass up to Reynolds reaches him at the red line. Levesque augments one over to Kletcha. The Mayhem on a delayed offside are good to go now, as Nolan Kaiser will send it over to his D partner, Anthony Calabrese. John Seamer now. We're approaching the quarter mark of the third period. 6-3 Huntsville is your score. Trask blocking the clearing attempt by Kaiser. He wheels into the slot, leaves it out for Urban, whose drive is gloved aside by a brilliant save made by Max Millisak. That was a howitzer of a shot by Zach Urban. Puck was played by a high stick. Neither side wanted to touch it. We get a whistle stopping play, and we'll head to our first media timeout here of period 3. The Mayhem trailing 6-3. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast thus far. The Mayhem trailing by a trio of goals, hoping to chip away at their deficit in the next few minutes. We'll be back in a moment.
This season, the Mayhem are offering a great group package. Whether you're a school, a church, a company, or just a group of friends, give the Mayhem office a call and we'll set you up with an incredible group deal. From $13 tickets to free team hats to a unique experience upgrading your cheese, the Mayhem have got you and your group covered. Call our office at 478-803-1592 to purchase your group tickets to a Mayhem game today.
So there's going to be a neutral zone draw that takes place in front of the penalty boxes. It's won by Macon, and Caleb Cameron steps right across the Huntsville line quickly and feeds it across the slot outside of the reach of Jake Trask. Now Trask fights for it with Rahoriak, who's been all over the score sheet tonight, a pair of assists. And Cameron takes the puck away from him, sends it at the net from about 100 feet. It's denied easily by Max Millisak. Huntsville has just iced the puck. Bazovic is able to get there first. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 6-3 Huntsville with 14 and a half to play in the third period. So Stephen Rahoriak, the recipient of the long stretch pass off of the bank, and now it's going to be kept behind the net by Cup and fed out to the near half wall. Caleb Cameron will begin to motor his way down the left wing side and deposits it into Huntsville territory. Taylor Love pinching all the way in behind the goal line, but he concedes possession now to Anthony Calabrese, who will race down the right wing, and he feeds it off the stick of Christian Powers. The Mayhem retreating quickly, all four of their five players behind their own hash marks. To recover this puck in their own zone. Cameron will send it behind his net. Jarrett Cup, his fellow Canadian, up to Seth Ronsberg. Ronsberg with a dangerous pass turned over to Powers, who's denied by Creel. Tanner Creel with another bailout tonight. The Mayhem are the second best team in the league at keeping the puck out of their own net, folks, and tonight has been sort of an exception to the rule. There have not been many cases in which the Mayhem have allowed 6 goals in a single game. As a matter of fact, all season, it's only happened once. It came at the hands of the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs back on Saturday, January 5th, in a 6-5 defeat up at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia. Larry Smith will feed Alexander Tallien right between the penalty boxes. And Huntsville captain Christian Powers will reorganize and feed Ryan Salkad the pass on the right wing side. Alexander Tallien, a Crystal Lake, Illinois native to Vinny Caligiuri, who was penalized at the end of period 2 and in through period 3, is back on the ice for his first shift since then. Christian Powers Dumps it into the right corner. Nick Minerva is taken off the puck. Seth Ronsberg collects it. Got Derek Sutliff breaking down his off wing. Ronsberg will feed him the pass, but it was read brilliantly by Pat Condon. And on the counterattack, skates Sharkey, who steps into the slot, maintains possession. He delays and shoots. It was blocked. Flutters back up to the blue line, kept in the zone. Nice skate to stick maneuver by Peter Sakalis, and it's been hoisted out by Justin Levesque. John Schiavo, the ex-Mayhem, has played for 6 different teams in his SPHL career. Derek Sutliff, long pass right on the tape of Kletcha, who drives down his off wing, cuts to the net and shoots. He goes down in the corner on the far side, was denied point blank. Nice save by Max Milasek. Bazovic sends it off the half board on the far side, angling it in the direction of Nolan Kaiser, who patiently waits now behind his own net. Nolan Kaiser, a pretty high-scoring defenseman for Glenn DeTulio and the Huntsville Havoc this season. 19 points through 25 games played. Pretty good scoring ratio for a defenseman. Kristaps Bazovic is stood up by Kaiser upon entering the zone. Kaiser will jam it out into the neutral zone. Brought down the right wing side by Colton Wolter, whose centering pass was intended for Trevor Gerling. It never quite got to him. Caleb Cameron is met by Calabrese. Back the other way, they bring it. It was shot on goal by Rahoriak and denied by Tanner Creel. With 11.5 to play in the third period, the Mayhem trailing the Havoc by a 6-3 scoreline. Tomorrow night, the Mayhem will finish off this 2-game road stand. They will square off against the Havoc for the last time until March 15th. March 15th and 16th, of course, will be Military Appreciation Weekend at the Macon Centreplex. Puck's been swatted past the blue line through Calabrese, who has to reorganize and feed Derek Pearl a pass in front of the benches. It's dumped in behind the net of Tanner Creel, and Cup's clearing attempt blocked by Nukovic, who centers a couple of players right in the vicinity of Creel. Both of them whiffed on the shot, and Derek Cup will get the chance to clear this puck out. His pass is well outside of the reach of John Seamer. Derek Pearl to Rahoriak, dumped into the zone. This will be an icing called against Huntsville. They've already sent a couple of players off the ice onto the bench. They're going to have to remedy that now and take a defensive zone draw. .11:03 to play in the third, 6-3 Huntsville. The scoreline has not changed since the 19th minute of period 2. Alexander Tallinn getting the Mayhem on the score sheet with a power play goal. Getting them on the power play score sheet, I should say. Huntsville's had a strong enough power play themselves. The Mayhem felt obligated to at least tally one of their own on the man advantage. And we talked about how often the Havoc have gone to power plays this season when playing against the Mayhem. Through just 3 matchups coming into this game, the Havoc had gone to 20 man advantages. Nick Minerva will feed Alexander Tallinn, and he will rim it around the end wall clockwise. It stops behind the net. And flung around the boards by Max Milasek. It bounces over the stick of Tallinn, and Smith will try to feed it back into the zone. Ronsberg takes over. His pass eventually gets to Tallinn, who will send it into an area where it's pursued by Ronsberg now. There's going to be another penalty called against the Mayhem. This time it'll be against Vinny Caligiuri, who delivered a big check, it looked like, on Derek Pearl into the end wall. So perhaps an elbow or a boarding penalty or a hit from behind or something of that nature. But whatever the case, Vinny Caligiuri will be heading back to the box. And the Mayhem will be forced to kill off another Huntsville power play. Huntsville on the power play tonight, 2 of 3. Against the Mayhem through 3 games so far this season. Well, coming into this game at least, they were 3 of 20. The Mayhem had done a fairly good job of keeping Huntsville's power play off the board in previous matchups. But tonight it's been a different story. Huntsville really making the Mayhem pay a couple of times, immediately fouling offensive zone face-off wins. But this time, Justin Levesque is able to best Christian Powers in the circle. It's been cleared all the way down by Kristaps Bazovic. Millisek will rattle it out to Pat Condon. Condon opened the scoring way back at the very beginning of this game, 91 seconds into the contest, with a wrist shot from the high slot. Puck skitters back over the line out in front of the Huntsville bench. Derek Pearl to recover it. Pass goes off the stick of Condon. Pearl is able to intercept it. He sustains a check from Cameron. Gerling swivels across the Macon blue line. And it's directed behind the net, and from the goal line it's twisted out by Kristaps. Bazovic's all the way down, wide of the cage of Millisek. He will drop it. And Peter Sakalis has it. His pass lands flat on the tape of Cy Nukovic, who delivers a perfect pass on the tape for Rahoriak. Rahoriak for Kaiser. Over to Calabrese. Tees up a slap shot from the left point. It was blocked by his own man and swung back to Calabrese again. He will give it down the half wall. The pass from Rahoriak to Nukovic. From the right circle, Nukovic up to Kaiser for a one-time drive by Calabrese that's off the mark. It rattles out to the half wall on the near side. Nukovic recollects it. He'll give it down to the goal line and get the return pass quickly. Nukovic delays, feeds it all the way back to Calabrese, bounces off his stick, and he will have to recover. 26 seconds remaining on this Mayhem penalty kill. Larry Smith from the red line will just dump it into Huntsville territory. Ronsberg begins the forecheck. Caligiuri standing in the Mayhem penalty box waiting to rejoin his team. So it's dumped into the zone by Kyle Sharkey, bounces off the backboards, and it's cleared immediately out to the neutral zone. Peter Sakalis flings it right back in. A ping-pong match over the course of the last 15 seconds or so. The Mayhem have, however, returned to full strength. They've improved to 2 for 4 on the night on the J&J's heating and air conditioning penalty kill. And Vinny Caligiuri will pursue it now behind the Huntsville cage and try to center it. Snuffed out by Millisek, and Huntsville's gotten it out. Piacentini gets it into the zone. Long stretch pass bounces over the blade of Alexander Tallin, who was lurking behind enemy lines, hoping for a breakaway that never came. Salked right side, centering. The one-timer goes wide of the net. Nice pass by Salked, but the one-timer was well off the mark from Piacentini. Here come the Mayhem in transition. Kletcha floats it on goal. It's denied by Max Millisek. 7:32 to play in the third period. We've gone a while without a whistle, but we've got one now. Our second media timeout of period 3. We're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Be back in a moment, folks. So Justin Levesque steps in to take an offensive zone face-off in the right circle in the Huntsville end. He's countered by Fairbanks, Alaska native Colton Wolter. The puck drops, Levesque with a clean win on the draw. Urban rifles it quickly, it's denied. And Urban gets a second chance. He fires it well wide of the net. Millisek never had to make a play on that one. And Sutliff from the far corner, put it behind the net. And no white sweater was there to make a play on that. Christian Powers bounces into the far corner, and Kletcha will feed it to his roommate, Zach Urban. Swatted off his blade by Trevor Gerling. Levesque with a pass up to Sutliff, who's got some speed. He will shoot. Blocker saved by Millisek. Bounces to Derek Pearl in the far corner. Pearl tries to shovel it out of there. It's been cleared out to the neutral zone, past the blue line into the Macon end. This will not go far enough for icing as it's turned back out to center by Jarrett Cup. And Caleb Cameron sending it into the left corner and in behind the net. Max Milasek steers it off to his left for Peter Sakalis, and now Stephen Rahoriak with a nice reception over the wing, or over the line rather, on the wing. Had his pass intercepted by Jake Trask. Trask is over the line. He bumps into Caleb Cameron and will just twist it back in behind the net. Sinukovic retains control, and he will give a pass out to Anthony Calabrese. He bounces it up ice, and Peter Sakalis, who's scored 2 goals tonight for Huntsville, tries for a third. That one went through the 5-hole of Creel and wide of the post. And the puck is now on top of the net, and the referee has blown the whistle, stopping play. 5:54 to go in the third. 6-3 Huntsville is your score. The Mayhem actually with a lot of shots on goal. It's been a very offensive game, folks. Obviously, when you've got 9 total goals, that says a lot. But not only that, there have been lots and lots of shots on goals as well. Been 75 shots on net so far tonight. Taylor Love up to Tallene. Loose puck skitters by Seth Ronsberg, who's not sure where it was, and Scott Trask will concede possession now. Ronsberg back in across the blue line. It's been lofted down the Macon slot, and Taylor Love took a swat at it. Kaiser drops it behind the net, and it's collected by Ronsberg now. Kaiser taking over at the Huntsville hockey logo at center ice. He rattles it back around the half wall and the end wall counterclockwise. Cup receives it from Taylor Love, and we're inside of 5 minutes remaining in the third period. The Mayhem still facing the same deficit they were facing when the period started. Levesque from his knees tries to spring one along for Sutliff. Didn't get to him. Christian Powers able to elude a check from Taylor Love. And a point-blank opportunity for Powers. Good stick check by Bazovic to prevent a shot on goal. Powers guides it back to the point. Long shot is taken there by Schiavo. That was blocked. Powers has it. Chips it off the glass. Bazovic intercepts it. Sends a pass over to Dakota Kletcha, who's onside. Good skate-to-stick play. Kletcha's shot is denied. A nice save made by Max Milasek. 4:08 to play in the third. Macon still trailing by 3. The Havoc have just been content to really pack this thing in, hunker down, and prevent any more high percentage scoring chances, because the difference between periods 1 and 2, which were pretty similar, and now this one have been night and day. Nukovic down the right side. Slips it through the blue paint out to the far half wall. Piacentini dangles with it. And now Bazovic will rattle it off the glass and all the way down. It'll go wide of the net. Milasek allows it to go past him, so an icing call is made against Macon. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 3:34 to play in the third period. The Mayhem still trail 6-3 in this contest despite generating 37 shots on net. We're going to be back in a moment.
Next season, the Mayhem are offering the most inclusive and rewarding ticket package in team history. These perks extend over all 28 home games at the Macon Centreplex. Your season ticket package gets you 2 buddy passes to any of the 28 home games, a 32-ounce Mayhem souvenir cup with $3 refills, a discounted season-long parking pass with access to VIP parking, 10% savings at the Mac Shack, a Mayhem lanyard, early access to the arena before games, VIP entrance to the arena, 3 exclusive team gifts, talk with the coach before the games, and much more. Head to MaconMayhem.com to check out how you can secure your spot for the 2018-2019 season of Mayhem hockey.
So that wraps things up for for media timeouts. The Mayhem are down to their last 3:26 to try to erase a 3-goal deficit. And like I was saying earlier, folks, Huntsville just a completely different team in this third period than they were in periods 1 and 2. Went from being an offensive juggernaut to a defensive gem. There's going to be a penalty called against them, I believe, however, giving Macon really a must-convert power play opportunity. Looked as though there was another hit from behind. We've seen a lot of penalties of that sort that have taken place tonight. So Nolan Kaiser to the box. The Mayhem tonight on the power play, 1 for 3. And 2 for 4 on the PK. This will be their 4th opportunity on the man advantage. Brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. Justin Levesque, Caleb Cameron, Dakota Clutcha, Jake Trask, and Zach Urban out there for this power play. A little bit surprised to not see Tanner Creel pulled for a 6th attacker in this situation, which I would certainly consider a must convert. But Creel remains in the crease for now, at least. And Coach Thomas may change his mind. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. Zach Urban. He will dump it into the left corner. Jake Trask is there first. He will send it around the boards, and it fools Urban, squeaks past him, and out to center again. Urban turns it back into the offensive zone, carries it into the right corner and turns, guides it to the point. Caleb Cameron will swing it to the left point. Jake Trask to the goal line. Dakota Clutcha up to the top. Urban bobbles it a second time, tries to recover to prevent a breakaway. Piacentini shorthanded the other way, steps into the slot, turns and shoots. Sprawling pad save made by Creel to keep Mayhem somewhat in this game here. He and John Seamer racing down the left side. He gains a step on Calabrese, then eventually loses the puck to him. Calabrese clears it past Tallene and all the way down. 50 seconds remain on the penalty called against Nolan Kaiser for the hit from behind. We've seen no sign that Creel will be skating to the Macon bench. Tallene will drop it off for the tail gunner, Derek Sutliff. Back to Tallene, up to the top for Bazovics. Bazovics for Seamer on his right. Seamer tees up a slap shot, fires it, misses the left post, and it rattles back out into the Macon zone. The Mayhem with time for one last rush on this power play. 100 seconds remain in this contest. Bazovics with the outlet pass up towards Derek Sutliff. Smacked away by Pat Condon, but it's kept in the zone by Bazovics above the right circle. Flutters a shot toward the net, blocked by a maze of Huntsville sweaters. Sutliff gave it to the side of that for Ronsberg. Smith to the blue line for Bazovics with a long shot that went through lots of traffic, but it didn't have enough speed to beat Millisek. And the Havoc have returned to full strength. Nolan Kaiser out of the sin bin. Vinny Caligiuri steals the puck at center ice and charges down the left wing side. Tallene bounces it off the backboards, off the back of the net, ultimately picked off by Kaiser and cleared. 53 to go in period 3. Seth Ronsberg to Larry Smith. Caligiuri redirects the clearing attempt by Smith into the Huntsville zone. And Trask feeds Cameron for an opportunity. His shot ricocheted awkwardly at the net. It's going to be another penalty called against Huntsville. And guess what the call is? Boarding again. Looks like that's the 3rd time in a row. And Anthony Calabrese is sent to the penalty box this time. 33.6 seconds remain. Not enough time to muster a 3-goal comeback. So Tanner Creel will just stay in the net. The Mayhem did a lot of things right tonight at the end of the first period. They showed their resilience, never gave up after going down 3-0. Nearly mustered a full first period comeback. Dakota Clutcha thought he had buried it over the goal line, which would have tied things up, and what a first period that would have been had he pulled it off. But still a valiant comeback, near comeback by the Mayhem to draw to within a goal. Spearheaded by Jake Trask, who got both of Macon's first period goals. But ultimately, I'm afraid the fatigue, the bus legs, Huntsville's preparedness tonight, and their desire to really push the Mayhem into a deeper hole in the standings was just too much for Macon tonight. And the Havoc will prevail here and gain a 3-point advantage over Macon in the SPHL standings. By the way, the Mayhem were penalized again. This time it was Zach Urban in the final Baker's dozen here. We'll tick off the clock. Tail of the tape really tonight, folks. Huntsville just right from the get-go really took full advantage of Macon's fatigue factor. The Mayhem came into this game having played a game on home ice last night, traveling, playing the day of the game, getting a practice in this morning. Huntsville, by comparison, well-rested, well-prepared. Their last game was on Sunday against Evansville on home ice. And they were just a more prepared team tonight. They put the Mayhem in an early 3-0 hole that the Mayhem erased pretty quickly. But boy, if you take away that that terrific start that Huntsville had, it's an even score. If you take away really the first stages of the game in which the Mayhem were still suffering from the bus legs, I like to call them, this game might have been different. The shots on goal pretty indicative of an evenly played game. 42-38 the final shots on net tonight in favor of Huntsville by a very narrow margin. Tanner Creel stopping 36 of 42 shots, countered by a stellar performance by Max Milasek on the other end, 35 of 38 in goal for the Havoc. One positive takeaway from this is the fact that the Mayhem did generate a lot of shots on goal, and that's something they've not really been able to say recently. Last night against Evansville, that was the most amount of shots the Mayhem had mustered in a single game since January 19th, and tonight they came just too shy of doing that again. However, they did allow lots of shots. This was a high-flying, up-tempo, back-and-forth offensive game tonight. And were it not for that really slow start by Macon, this game would have, I'm sure, would have had a much different result than it did. But ultimately, the final score that matters, Huntsville coming away with a 6-3 victory over Macon tonight at Von Braun Center. The implications of this decision, Huntsville has just moved 3 points ahead of the Mayhem in third place in the SPHL. They've got 52 points on the campaign now. They improved to 25-14-2. The Mayhem falling to 22-15-5. Will hold steady at 49 points on the campaign. The Knoxville Ice Bears, the Fayetteville Marksmen, both gunning for the Mayhem's spot in the playoffs. The fourth and final home ice advantage spot in the SPHL Challenge round, so that's a very coveted position to be in. And right now, the Mayhem sitting in prime real estate, in danger of having it go into foreclosure. So Knoxville and Fayetteville really knocking on the Mayhem's doors. With that in mind, they're really going to have to bring it tomorrow night. No excuses tomorrow, no bus legs tomorrow. The Mayhem and the Havoc both playing tonight. Both of them tomorrow will be in a pretty equal situation. And the Mayhem will have to take what they learned from tonight's tilt, apply it to tomorrow, and to come away with a few points from the weekend series. Let's take one last look around the SPHL for a final out-of-town scoreboard update brought to you by Marriott Hotels. 8 of the 10 teams in the SPHL playing tonight. Fayetteville and Pensacola were idle. Evansville with a 3-1 lead right now over the Quad City Storm, and these are some must-win games for the Storm. They're kind of must-win games for the Thunderbolts too, but Quad City with a more realistic opportunity of sliding into a playoff spot right now. They've got 2 games in hand over Evansville and 8 points on them, so the Bolts virtually eliminated, but not mathematically eliminated. Essentially must win out if they're to creep into a playoff spot. Quad City, on the other hand, a reasonable goal to pass Pensacola, but looks as though right now they're going to miss out on a couple of really valuable points against the Evansville Thunderbolts. A stomping up in Peoria this evening as the Rivermen beat the Rail Yard Dogs by an 8-2 final score, or leading them by an 8-2 score. I apologize. The game still got 3 minutes and 24 seconds left. Well, boy, oh boy, that is a blowout, one of the likes of which we haven't seen yet this season. I don't think the Mayhem have not had a game with 8 goals scored in it by one team all year. In fact, Huntsville's scoring 6 times tonight marked just the second time all season the Mayhem have allowed 6 goals in a single game. They've been really good defensively this season, but tonight was sort of an exception to the rule. And then finally, Knoxville has pulled ahead of the Birmingham Bulls. Not sure if that's good news or bad news if you're a Mayhem fan. I don't think they'd want either of those teams to win, but still plenty of time left in the third period. Knoxville, of course, like we said earlier, jostling for very valuable positioning in the SPHL standings. They sit just 2 points behind Macon. If they win tonight, they will tie the Mayhem with identical records at 22, 15, and 5 with the exact same amount of games played. So keep a close, watchful eye on that one, folks. Knoxville and Birmingham about 18 minutes away from concluding. As for this one, folks, 6-3 the final score in favor of the Huntsville Havoc. We're so glad you decided to join us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast in spite of the outcome. We were so glad to be able to broadcast this game for you for the first time from the road. To those of you tuned in on YouTube, we hope you enjoyed the free audio stream. We're really lucky to be able to do this weekend, and we hope to do it some more going forward. We think it's a real privilege and a real treat that our fans are very deserving of, that they can tune into this game and listen to it live wherever you may be tuned in from. We truly, sincerely appreciate your patronage. Even though the Mayhem did not get the outcome they wanted, we're glad you were there to support them in spirit. Hoping they could turn what happened yesterday into a bit of a winning streak here. Not to be tonight, but another opportunity presents itself tomorrow. The Mayhem will be back at Von Braun Center. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Puck drop, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tune in on SPHL Live. The home feed, I'll be heading back to Macon tonight, so I will not have the call. But Steve Moulton, who does an outstanding job covering the Huntsville Havoc on the radio and on SPHL Live, will have the call. Tune in to him tomorrow on New Lion to tune into your Mayhem as they will wrap up a 2-game road series in Huntsville before heading home for a 3-game homestand next weekend against Birmingham on Thursday, College Night, and Fayetteville on Princess Night on Friday, and Pucks and Paws Night on Saturday. Till then, Alex Von Coydel from the Von Braun Center signing off from Huntsville. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.